Good afternoon, everyone. If the Regents could please turn on your cameras so we can call our roll. The regular meeting of the Board of Regents of Del Mar College District at 1 p.m. on Tuesday, February 9th. I will conduct a roll call of our Regents. Dr. Adami?
Here.
Ms. Averett?
Here.
Mr. Bennett? Mr. Bennett had told us he might be a little bit late today. He's got a conflict early in the meeting, so we'll expect him later on in the meeting. Mr. Garza?
Here.
Ms. Hutchison?
Here.
Dr. Turner? Dr. Turner was with us a few minutes ago. Carol Scott, we do have a quorum and can conduct business. We expect Dr. Turner to join us shortly. If you would all please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you very much. And please join me in our Pledge to Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Dr. Turner has joined us. Please join me in reading the Del Mar College Vision Statement. Del Mar College will be the premier choice for life-changing educational opportunities provided by responsive, innovative faculty and staff who empower students to improve local and global communities. Thank you all very much. Del Mar College is streaming our live audio and video from this official Board of Regents meeting on the college's website in real time, with the exception of portions of the meeting considered closed session by statute. The public has been provided an opportunity to provide general public comment as well as comment on specific agenda items. We do not have any requesting public comments for this afternoon's meeting. Correct, Dr. Escamilla?
Yes, ma'am. Correct, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much. As we begin every one of our board meetings, we have an opportunity to recognize some outstanding faculty and students, and today we have a couple of faculty members that we would like to recognize. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. John DeHalcom.
Yes, thank you. Madam Chair, Regents, and Dr. Escamilla, I'm pleased to announce that Benita Flores Munoz has been appointed to serve on the National Association for the Education of Young Children Commission, NAEYC, on the accreditation of early childhood higher education programs. This is a great honor for Ms. Flores Munoz. The commission consists of 8 members who serve staggered 3-year terms. Commissioners bring a demonstrated commitment to early childhood teacher education at higher education institutions. They bring an understanding of program accreditation systems, policy and procedures, professional judgment in making accreditation decisions. The commission also works with NAEYC staff to develop guidance, documents, and data gathering instruments necessary to carry out these functions. NAEYC's higher education accreditation system accredits early childhood programs at the associate, baccalaureate, and master's levels. They prepare students for beginning career roles as early childhood educators. These degree programs must demonstrate excellence by meeting the NAEYC professional preparation standards. Currently, there are 197 institutions in 40 states with this accreditation, and Del Mar College, I'm glad to say, is one of those accredited bodies. Ms. Flores Munoz is a program coordinator and tenured associate professor of the Child Development Early Childhood Program, who has been teaching at the college for over 14 years. I'd like you to join me in congratulating Benita on this prestigious appointment. And Benita, by the way, is with us today. And Madam Chair, if it's possible, I'd like to invite her to say a few words.
Absolutely. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Holcomb, for those very nice, kind words, and what an introduction. It's my honor to be appointed to the commission, serving with NAEYC, and I do want, as Dr. Holcomb mentioned, I do want the Regents to know that our Child Development Early Childhood Associate Degree Program is nationally accredited through NACE, and that took a lot of hard work and a commitment from the entire team of child development faculty. Serving on the commission is a great opportunity for me, and in a way, a lifelong aspiration that I have had and didn't even think would be possible. But working towards our own national accreditation gave me, I guess, the experience and kind of honed in my expertise that I felt like I was just in the right place at the right time in my life to pursue this new endeavor. So I'm really excited to represent Del Mar College and the early childhood community on this commission. Thank you so much for this recognition.
Congratulations, Ms. Flores Munoz, and on behalf, that's right, we'll do the jazz hands or the applause, whichever you want to do, but we want to say congratulations to you. There we go. Good. Sign language. I like that. We want to congratulate you and thank you for your continued commitment to Del Mar College and to our faculty and our students, and for representing us on this accreditation commission. We, having recently gone through, as you well know, the tenure accreditation process for the college, we have a keen appreciation for the work that goes in on that side in helping set those standards and maintain standards for education. So we, again, congratulate you and thank you for your representation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Halcomb. Next, we're going to hear from Ms. Lenora Keys with another staff recognition. Ms. Keys?
Thank you. I'm just having, there we go. I was just having a little difficulty getting it to come on. Thank you very much, Regent Scott. It's my honor and pleasure to recognize Kawana Denson is the recipient of the Why Women in Careers Award for 2021. Kawana is the Director of Strategic Initiatives and a leader within the college since 2012. During her time here at the college, she has worked with many of our key corporate clients. One example of her professionalism and tenacity was working as Managing Director at the construction site for Gulf Coast Growth Ventures, which is ExxonMobil's partnership with SABIC, which is Saudi Arabia Basic Industries. At the construction site there in Gregory, she led the Del Mar team in delivering customized safety leadership training, and that contract received over $2.7 million in receipts coming to the college. Under her leadership, the Del Mar team received the GRIT Award. This is from Gulf Coast Growth Ventures. And what makes this significant, I'd like to point out, was that the prior recipient of this award was the president of Saudi Arabia Basic America, Mr. Mohammed Al-Wakil. So we're very proud when they received the GRIT Award. Kawana is also known for her dedication to the community through her work with the Jasani Smith Foundation for beach safety and education. Her work at this heartfelt and meaningful endeavor has been recognized by Nueces County, the Texas Department of Transportation, and the City of Corpus Christi. Kawana is part of a renowned group of recipients of the Why Women in Careers Award for 2021. I want to share with you, this includes Judith Talaveras, who is President and COO of AEP Texas, Annette Rodriguez, our own Public Health Director here in Nueces County, and Maria Martinez, the Vice President of Texas A&M Kingsville. Additionally, Kawana is a member of a very renowned group. I'd like to point out that several women here at Del Mar College have received this, but looking at the smiling faces right now is our very own Regent Libby Averett, Susan Hutchison, and Carol Scott. So Kawana is joining an amazing group of women in this recognition and represents us so well within the community, and not just here locally at the college, but within the whole. She's known throughout all the corporate industry within our area, and then many, many people around the whole community. So please join me in recognizing Kawana, and I was going to ask Kawana to say a few words.
Thank you. Thank you, Lenore, for such kind words and gestures. But Before I give all my thank yous, again, just been a part of, been inducted and honored for such an award, again, amongst such great women. I am just, I don't have a lot of words other than I just feel honored and privileged to be a part of, such a wall of fame, if you will, as they call it at the Wild Women in Careers. And I do want to thank Benita on her successes with the NACI recognition. So congratulations, Benita. But first and foremost, I have to thank the good Lord above and my family. Madam Chair, Board of Regents, and Dr. Escamilla, I have to thank you for the opportunity to speak before you in the audience. Thank you for those who supported the nomination. Some of those are Lenora Keys, College Relations, Delia Pettis, Dr. Escamilla, just to name a few, the YWCA, and the Wild Women in Careers Selection Committee for choosing me. Executive team members here at Del Mar College and their supporting teams, corporate services, continuing education departments, DMC Foundation, public safety, allied health, industrial tech programs, and the entire DMC family, deans, faculty, and staff, as we work together to build a highly skilled, knowledgeable, workforce-ready community. I'm sorry, y'all, my phone's ringing in the background. Really? Okay, perfect timing. All right. Okay, and then I have to give a special thank you. God, this is so funny. Okay, anyway, I have to give a special thank you to Lenore Keys, Executive Vice President and COO, and Dan Course, Dean of Workforce Programs and Corporate Services. You believed in my abilities, confidence, and character, and gave me the autonomy to develop programs for students and employers, which enabled personal and professional growth. I cannot put a price on the importance of continuous professional growth and leadership development in the workplace and acknowledging one's talents and successes. Thank you, College Relations, for the most recent participation in the KIII Black History Month Leaders in the Community segment, which highlighted my educational attainment and my philosophical beliefs. Last but not least, the J. Sonny Smith Board of Directors, Officers, and Ambassadors for honoring my late son, J. Sonny, and raising awareness about beach safety and rip currents and keeping our beaches safe for all of humanity. Thank y'all so much.
Congratulations. Congratulations, Ms. Denson. You have represented us well, and it is a well-deserved award. Thank you, Ms. Keys, for acknowledging those members of the Board of Regents who have previously received this award. But it is it's a wonderful recognition. And by your phone ringing in the background, we know that you're a valued part of the corporate services team. That is quite all right.
I'm glad y'all laughing. Thank you.
You're a busy woman. That is quite all right. But again, congratulations on behalf of the board. We're very proud of you, and I'm so glad that you're receiving this recognition.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Keys. All right. As we move on with our agenda, we are, as we have begun to do, looking at student success reports on a regular basis at our board meetings, and we are looking forward to hearing from Dr. Jonda Halcomb and Dr. Rito Silva on our Police Academy licensure program.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Regents, and Dr. Escamilla. I'm pleased to share data with you that shows how well our students are doing in the Del Mar College Regional Police Academy. Next slide, please. The slide shows the number of students tested and the pass rate for the first attempt during years 2017 through 2019 for jailer license and 2017 through 2020 for the peace officer license. Due to COVID, there was not a 2020 class for the jailer license. Please note also that the test was changed for the jailer license in 2019 and the peace officer license in 2020. And I was informed it became even a more rigorous exam. So you might see a little bit of drop in numbers, but we still have a stellar pass rate. Now, if we look at the next slide, then we can see in this graph that the Del Mar College Regional Police Academy students have successfully passed the jailer licensing exam for consecutive years with an average 91% pass rate compared to the 88% state average. The students also successfully passed the peace officer licensing exam for consecutive years with a 97% pass rate compared to the 96% state average. Some more data will come out in the annual state report during the summer. The success in the Del Mar College Police Academy program is a direct reflection of the cadre of wonderful instructors that we have here at the college and the effort that they put into this each and every day. They're led by John Hornsby, who serves as the program coordinator. And, you know, the Del Mar Police Academy is a well-recognized academy in South Texas. The job placement rate has played a very significant role in all of the law enforcement departments in our area. And I want to congratulate our police academy for these great successes. If you have any questions, I also have Dean Merrill here, who also has taught a lot of the classes in the police academy, and he's been a police officer for many years.
Thank you very much, Dr. Halcomb. Are there any questions for Mr. Dean Merrill or for Dr. Halcomb? So typically, where do our graduates go to work?
I'm going to let Dean Merrill answer that. He's an expert in this area.
Thank you. Most of the graduates stay within the Council of Governments region. We serve about 11 counties in the area, and thankfully a lot of the students that complete the training, both on the jailer side and the law enforcement peace officer side, stay within the area.
And do they go to work directly for police departments, or is additional training required when they leave us?
Once they leave Del Mar and have passed the state licensing test, they're eligible for employment. And after they become hired with an agency, they have to do what's called continuing education biennially. Every 2 years, they have to have 40 hours of mandatory training and 40 hours of additional training. That most of that comes from the Regional Police Academy as well. So we teach not only the licensing course, but also the continuing.
I think he was saying continuing education courses.
Yes.
That's exactly right.
I believe so.
Good.
How
All right.
unfortunate.
Thank you, Dean Merrill, and thank you, Dr. Halcomb. Any other questions or
Thank you.
comments? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We are going to move on to our staff report. No, I'm sorry, college president's report first. Dr. Escamilla.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, welcome back, Regents, and everyone watching this afternoon. It's been a long time since we've met, and a Happy New Year. We're looking forward to a much better year, hopefully, and I think all indications are that we're headed in a much better direction as opposed to the past 10 or so months. Regents, ladies and gentlemen, Del Mar College remains, that being said, Del Mar College remains in a phase 2 of our return to campus plan. The college continues to be closed to the public with limited access for instruction and testing. Many of our employees continue to work remotely. In terms of proportions of students teaching online and face-to-face, we continue with similar patterns to our fall semester, in that about 60% of our students continue to be taking instruction online, and the remainder in various forms of hybrid and face-to-face formats. Our COVID-19 health and safety protocols, you've heard me say this before, continue to remain in effect, so that all who step foot on this campus or are associated with this campus are conducting business as safely as possible. Depending on I'm going to switch gears to about 6 different topics here. The next topic is really about the future of our board meetings and how things are developing. Regents, depending on COVID-19's developments, we're considering holding board meetings in coming months from the Center for Economic Development, with Regents participating either in person or online at their discretion. This is for future discussion and consideration, but I want you all to know that that your administrative team, both IT and facilities, are working on a new design so that our CED 106 can become our permanent boardroom as this particular space is renovated for and turned over to students with the renovation of the Harbin Student Center. Programming and design are forthcoming. I will be getting recommendations. It won't be a big elaborate change to CED 106, but the functions and features will be are being developed as we speak. I just got an update as early as noon today from our IT staff, and we will be reaching out to you all for input and consideration as to how that will look and work. Again, that goes back to master planning and our bond protocols and programming.
If I could just stop
Sure.
right there and make a request of the Regents.
Yes.
As we begin to have this discussion about what in-person meetings will begin to look like for Del Mar College in the future, would like for you to contact Dr. Escamilla, myself, Dr. Villarreal, if there are specific comments or concerns you have related to in-person meetings, please let us know that. And again, we're going to do what we can as long as the law allows. And we still are under emergency procedures and from the governor's office, but there will come a point in time when we will be coming back face to face, and so how we move that direction is going to be important, and we want to do that in full conversation with our regents.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In adhering to our COVID-19 protocols, I have some really good news, interesting news. It's how the college is embracing the challenges that we're facing with the COVID-19 environment. We've received word that we're going to be working with a local hospital, Driscoll Children's Hospital, in fact, and other area hospitals to become a future COVID-19 vaccination site. We're hoping that that'll develop more quickly than not. It's being led by a few folks on our team that will engage staff and volunteers, students in the allied health fields and so forth. Many colleges are doing this and have been doing this in small towns and large towns alike. And I'm proud to say that although this plan is still in development, it is an honor to be a part of such a humanitarian effort, frankly. I'm very proud of those who've already stepped up and who are willing to take on this role. I want also to let you all know, a little side note, is that many of our students have been volunteering at these sites already. Our nursing students and other allied health program students have been working diligently, giving of their time and getting clinical hours and the like. So this will just be another piece of that puzzle, and a very large piece, I might add. We think that most likely that the location will be at our West Campus, and it'll be one site associated with many others or at least several others throughout the site. Around the city, as we understand it. Okay, just a quick update on enrollment. The spring enrollment is really showing the effects of COVID-19. We currently are showing our spring credit enrollment. Okay, there's several pieces to this conversation now. Our spring credit enrollment is down about 12% as compared to last spring. That being said, this is an uncertified count of just over 10,200 plus students on the credit side. And remember, we're not done enrolling for the continuing education side, and I think it's the second. I guess it's the first or second quarter. I'm forgetting my calendar. It's a different calendar. So just heads up there. We still have a lot to dip into, delve into as it relates to officially reporting the spring semester. This dip is, again, part of the big picture. It's undoubtedly tied to the impact of coronavirus pandemic. There was a spike over the winter, just as frankly, what we expected, and as we were told by the CDC and other governmental entities this winter, and it's still affecting us. There are still different opportunities for students to enroll in the spring semester, in the latter half, but there's still the tremendous impact that COVID-19 is having on our families, as you all well know, and we are looking forward to the vaccination efforts and other things like that helping in that cause. This week, we're sending out an email survey to students who have not returned for spring classes to further explore this trend and see if we can get that and many other efforts are being combined to reach out to students to see how we can get them back. Again, this is not a 12% on the spring enrollment per se. It is a 12% on the credit side. Okay, so there's still much more to come. We anticipate the spring will grow by the time it's all said and done, and we've enrolled in the various sessions, not just the first 16 weeks, but or the first 8 weeks. There's the second 8 weeks and other sessions and Maymester and others to come. So stay tuned. A comprehensive enrollment report will be given at the end of the base year, as we've done historically, in April. And this will be a very intensive, or I should say extensive, hopefully not intensive, but extensive look at the total base year that we're currently wrapping up as we speak. So stay tuned there. In more upbeat news, this is really, really good news, ladies and gentlemen, and we're just working to unfold all this, and I wanted to be the first to tell you all collectively. I think I've made a brief report to our chair, but the Department of Education recently announced the passage of the Coronavirus Response and Relief Supplemental Appropriations Act, a $22 billion stimulus package to serve students and ensure learning continues during the pandemic. Ladies and gentlemen, we just received confirmation this past week, actually the week before that, but I wouldn't believe it until they told me, proved it 5 different times, but Del Mar College will be receiving $10.6 million to be distributed and to be utilized in various ways here at the college to recover. Now, this has been confirmed, and we're talking about it at the state, and every one of the colleges and universities are receiving proportionately similar types of funding. We know that 1.9 million, at least 1.9 million will be distributed directly to students to help with tuition, books, food, housing, and childcare, amongst other expenses. 8.6 will be up to the college to amongst other things, defray expenses associated with the coronavirus pandemic, including past losses of revenues due to the various impacts, the various areas that are impacted by the virus. Rules and regulations are being analyzed. We have all of our experts looking at all the rules. We're talking to our peers across the state, the rules and regulations as to how those dollars specifically can be utilized are being looked over and worked over right now. Stay tuned for us to pull a fully developed plan back to you all, and as an informational kind of thing and strategy for you all's review. And that plan will be coming shortly. Again, very, very good news. Incredible news, actually. Now, just finally, the legislature, the 87th legislative session kicked off on January 12th, and committee assignments are underway. We're going to have a report here in just a little bit, so I'm going to try not to steal too much thunder from Dr. Villarreal. But get ready, as that is ensued. That has quickly taken a lot of my attention, as you expect, and we're going to want you all to know that we're going to be bringing back regular meetings and regular updates to the Board of Regents and the community via this board meeting and other avenues out there, including social media and the like. Let's see. More good news on that legislative front. And we've heard from our Texas State Comptroller that the shortfall from the state's budget was better than expected by far. where they were expecting where they were expecting over $4.5 billion in a shortfall. The estimates are now closer to just under $1 billion. Still significant numbers when anytime you use the B in front of billion instead of millions, and we're talking about billions. All things considered, we are way far short in a good way of that most disturbing outlook that we've been using this past fall to predict and or to assess where the legislative session was going. Again, good news at the surface level that everything else is to be determined, and you can bet that we will continue to update you all from the Capitol and also include you all as much as we can given this COVID environment as we move ahead. And finally, on Thursday, March 4th, we will celebrate Del Mar College Day at the Capitol, virtually. This virtual event is designed to showcase for legislators the many benefits we offer to our students, community, and economy. Okay, I still don't understand it completely because it's a technological feat that is being driven by the creativity and the genius of Dr. Natalie Villarreal and Lorette Williams and Jason Houlihan and team. So I'm still sinking in, and I'm going to Austin next week to film parts of these. So our team would not give up and say no to or would not accept the idea of not having Del Mar College Day at the Capitol, because we had a big party, not a party, but a legislative effort, which we consider a party and fun, planned. We're going to go ahead. And in fact, I'm so proud, and I want y'all to know that all the other colleges, including the Association of Community Colleges, were like, Del Mar's doing what? Okay. And then, so they're jumping in. And so stay tuned. I don't know what it's going to look like. I just know that it's going to be fun, and it's going to be informative, and it's going to put Del Mar College, once again, at the forefront of the legislative efforts. And that concludes my remarks. And again, welcome back and Happy New Year to everyone. I'll answer any questions, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Dr. Escamilla. Are there questions for Dr. Escamilla on his report? Ms. Hutchison.
Yes, I was going to go back to the question about the collaboration with Driscoll for the vaccine. Do I understand that's going to be West Campus? Do we know that for sure?
That's what's been asked of me so far. I'm just listening to, yes, that's all I know at this point, Regent Hutchinson.
We don't know if we're talking inside, outside, drive-by. Those are details to follow.
I've been told to find indoor space. The team is working on that. It is just at the forefront of it all. So I think everything is on the table. I understood that they did want indoor facilities, and we do have some of the biggest rooms out there reserved for that. And then also, I think the outdoor drive-by scenario is on the table as well, but I don't believe that that's the preference at this point. That's how little I know, unfortunately.
I strongly support this. I think it's fabulous that we're able to partner with Driscoll and do this and use our best talents and including our students. So go forth.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Ms. Hutchison. I don't give the silence from the board. I think we all agree with Ms. Hutchison that on issues like that, that is absolutely part of our community mission here, and the fact that we do have facilities and students and faculty that are able to assist. We all encourage that. So thank you very much for that. Oh, absolutely. Thank you very much. And if anybody has any follow-up questions, we'll get them out. And don't think that I'm going to wait for the next board meeting to apprise the board and or the community as to what we're doing. We will use social media and or other electronic media to inform everyone as to where we're going. Good. Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am. Anything else for Dr. Escamilla on his report? If not, then we will move on to our staff reports, starting with a continuation of our discussion on DMC rebranding. This was first introduced to us a couple of months ago, And Ms. Lorette Williams is going to continue. Do you have any introductory remarks, Dr. Escamilla?
You teed it up nicely, Madam Chair, in that we did touch on this a couple of months ago, again, to just warm up the topic, but know that this topic is probably at least several years old, and we're coming back to it where we thought we were going to hit the ground running last spring. I'm tired of saying the reason why, but you know what happened in March, and so that put us behind. That being said, Ms. Lorette Williams, our Executive Director of College Relations and Marketing, is in charge and leading us, taking us down the way to this most important topic. That saying, take it away, Lorette.
Thank you, Dr. Escamilla. Good afternoon, Regents. At this time, I'd like to provide an update for you all on the rebranding process that we discussed during the December board workshop. Next slide, please. As you may recall, during that workshop, we reviewed the Southside Campus Communication Plan that included 4 phases. And in phase 1 of that plan, we discussed the need to develop and finalize a college-wide rebranding process. We discussed the need to complete that process by the end of this summer, 2021. So at this time, I'd like to provide you an update on our planning efforts. Next slide, please. The recommended rebranding process will include a process that is inclusive of campus and community stakeholder feedback, which will result in the adoption of an updated college logo and sub-brands for individual college campuses and educational centers. And so for the immediate, we're going to be focusing specifically on the sub-brands for East, West, and the new Southside campus. Next slide, please. We've defined 4 objectives for this process that focus on campus and community engagement, campus branding, college branding, and then, of course, the establishment of a timeline to complete this entire process. Next slide, please. Objective 1 focuses on developing an online community engagement platform to solicit input and feedback from our campus and community stakeholder groups. And of course, due to the pandemic, we did decide that the safest and most effective means would be to hold our focus groups virtually. So we're currently working with the IT team to identify the best solution to achieve our goals. We've also scheduled all of our internal online focus group sessions to take place March 23rd through the 25th. And you can see the various internal groups that are listed there. In addition to some of those specific groups, we're also going to be hosting at least 3 general employee sessions that any employee can attend. And then we'll have 2 sessions open for student participation. We anticipate that these focus groups are going to last about an hour, and then we'll follow up each of the sessions with a feedback survey so that everyone will have the opportunity to provide input. The external community group sessions are going to follow the internal sessions, and they're scheduled for March 30th and 31st. In addition to those specific groups that you see listed there, we're going to be hosting 2 opportunities for the general public to participate. And the community sessions are also going to include a feedback survey. We'll send that to all those who choose to participate. And then once we get the survey results back, we're going to utilize those results for further refinement during the creative concepting process. We plan on sending out the save the date notices here the last week in February, and then additionally the first week in March. Next slide, please. Objective 2 really focuses on the development of the parameters for the sub-brands that are in compliance, of course, with Board Policy B3.7. We discussed this back in December, but once again, under Board Policy B3.7, it states that campuses and complexes shall not be subject to naming recognition or naming rights, as those collections of facilities are better reserved for geographic, functional, and related descriptions. So since we currently have geographical sub-brands and we're looking to change that, we will be looking at the functional and the related descriptions as categories for our sub-brands. An internal rebranding advisory group has been established and includes a cross-section of employees. And one of the main objectives of this group is to ensure that important college historical and cultural attributes are considered throughout this process. The group did have their first meeting back on January the 27th, where they began to explore the potential themes for these sub-brands. Next slide, please. Objective 3 focuses on the update of the college's logo to reflect a contemporary and forward-facing brand. This will include the update of the college's logo and the tagline. It will not include changing the name of the college or changing the college mascot name or likeness. So this is an important slide. I know you saw this one in December, but I thought it was important to share this one again. Next slide, please. Objective 4 focuses on the establishment of a timeline inclusive of the stakeholder input feedback, the creative concepting, and then of course the final approval that you all will be providing. So what you have here in front of you is the rebranding roadmap that takes us through April. As I mentioned earlier, we did have our first advisory group meeting. I wanted to make sure it was noted here. That was on January the 27th. And of course, today we're presenting this update. We will be hosting our second advisory group meeting next week, and our third meeting will take place the week of March 15th. Then we're going to roll right into our focus group sessions for the campus stakeholders and then our community stakeholders. And after we compile all of the survey data, we'll get that over to AMG, which is the college's agency of record, and then they will begin the creative concepting process. Next slide, please. And here's the roadmap that's going to take us from May through August. We will host our fourth and our final advisory group meeting the week of May the 10th, where we will review the first draft of the creative concepting, and we'll get some feedback from members of that group. From there, AMG will work on the final creative concepting, and they will provide the college with 2 final options. In June, we do plan on sending out a final online survey that's only going to go to college employees, and they will have the opportunity to vote on their favorite option. We do realize that this is getting into the summer months when we have several faculty members and staff who may be going on break. So we are deliberately going to create a very user-friendly survey that can be sent via text message. Once we get back the results from the final online survey, then AMG and our office will work on that final board presentation throughout July. And then in August, we'll be coming back to you all presenting that for final approval of the selection. Next slide, please.
Ms. Williams, I have a question back to that May through August slide. You talk about the tagline and the logo, and then you talked about the sub-branding for the other campuses. So I'm confused as to what 2 options and 1 option we're talking about there.
Actually, the agency has, they have asked us to present those together. So when we have the sub-brands that come in, you'll have the look and feel with 2 additional logos. So you get 2 options that come in with the look and feel of I guess, a logo that would kind of help to enhance those sub-brands.
So it's package 1, which would be logo, tagline, sub-brands. Package 2, gotcha. Okay. It was the one. Exactly. It was the 2 and 1 numbers that were confusing me. Thank you.
Yes, exactly. All right, so our immediate next steps will include working with the rebranding advisory group to establish those parameters and the format for the upcoming focus group meetings. And then, of course, you're going to start seeing us heavily promote those meetings. So that's on the immediate front. If you guys have any questions, I'm here to answer those.
I saw Dr. Turner had her mic open.
Yes,
I have a question. Sorry, my dogs are barking in the background. On the community outreach, or what are those going to be held in the evening? So, are they going to be virtual?
Yes, ma'am. They're going to be virtual meetings, and they're actually going to be held throughout the day. We'll have some morning sessions. We'll also have a noon session, and then we'll have one that's kind of later in the evening, so those who are working and want to participate. Yes, ma'am.
And you're inviting, I noticed you're inviting the school districts to participate?
Yes, ma'am. We have a special focus group that's going to specifically focus on higher ed, and then, of course, all of our K through 12 educators as well that are within our service area.
like GP, Flower Bluff, Cow Allen, those areas will be invited to participate?
Yes, ma'am. All those that are within our service area, that's correct.
All right, great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there other comments or questions?
I'd like to make one
Yes.
more comment, if I may, Madam Chair. Regents and ladies and gentlemen out there, the importance of this moving ahead right now is one, we're behind. Yes, I've already mentioned that, and I think everybody understands that. But the critical part of all this with the timing really has a lot to do with the construction timelines that we have in front of us. We have numerous buildings that are going to be renovated here. Several buildings will be renovated here at East Campus. We already have some newly completed, relatively speaking, at both East and West Campus. And branding and marking all of these buildings needs to follow this very important work, and can't be done until this very important work is done. The last thing we wanted to do is go up there and brand. As you can see at the top left of that building, although this is not a real image, it's a real image, but it's not an image of our actual building. There's a lot of things in there that are different, but you can see the marking up there on the left, as we will be branding in similar fashion on the south side as well as the east and west campuses. You know, the last thing that I'd like to say, it's a little bit funny, but it's not, because I hear it all over the community. You know, the directional names that we use, the cardinal directional names that we're using, east, west, and south, really have to, we've really got to move beyond that. This is a tremendous opportunity. You know, I heard it the other day on the radio, and I hadn't thought about it in both scenarios. I'd been saying anyway, I'd heard that, you know, East Campus is east of Wiener Schnitzel and West Campus is west of the Hi-Ho. So for local people, we totally get that and totally appreciate that. But we've got to get beyond that, because those are the things that people are saying out there, you know, with this, with these naming structure that we have. It's just not formal. The college deserves a proper naming protocol, and that's what this is all about. And I just wanted to add that. So thank you very much, Lorette and team.
Thank you, Dr. Escamilla. Any other comments on this topic? Thank you, Ms. Williams, for your work on this. We really appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Regents will now receive a legislative update from Dr. Natalie Villarreal.
Good afternoon, Dr. Escamilla, Madam Chair, and our Board of Regents. Today's legislative update will focus on state and federal information since your last update, which was in November of 2020. Next slide, please. So starting with the 87th legislature, the governor did announce some new rules for this year's 2021 session. Right now, only emergency items can be voted on for those first 60 days. So no other bills starting on January 12th will be voted on unless it is under a part of his priorities. And he outlined those last week. Those are protecting business from certain types of lawsuits, changing the bail system in Texas, election integrity, protecting police funding, and expanding broadband in the state. As Dr. Escamilla mentioned, last week, committee assignments also came out for the House of Representatives. We do have locally Senator Zaffarini, who will be on the Higher Education Committee. We also have Representative Hunter, who will be chairing redistricting, along with our other representatives in different committees representing the Coastal Bend. And if you would like a copy, I can definitely send you a copy of those committees as they came out after this agenda was solidified.
Dr.
Next slide,
Villarreal,
please.
if I might just interject right there. Mr. Jim Murphy, Representative Jim Murphy out of the West Houston, Katy area is the new
Yes.
House Higher Ed Chair. And he is a former 10-year trustee at Houston Community College and former board chair at Houston Community College. So it's not often that we have a trustee from the community college board table as chair of higher ed. So we're excited to see Representative Murphy in that position.
Yes, thank you, Regent Scott. And also to note, with our new chair of higher ed in the House, we will keep Brandon Creighton, who is going to be the higher ed chair in the Senate. So there is a little bit of continuation on the Senate side. Next slide, please. I'd like to talk a little bit about the legislative priorities. As you know, these are joint priorities put together by TAC, CAT, and TCCTA. These were the beginning of negotiations that I presented to you the last time we discussed the legislative agenda. And just so you know, Senate Bill 1 was released, and it has included approval for this funding. However, this information was really the starting point of negotiations and did not really take into account the fall numbers because they had not been solidified yet. So with this new funding in place, it does currently leave 30 out of the 50 community colleges from staying in the positive moving forward for the next biennium. So yesterday, the legislative committee was able to produce a new amended funding ask that's going to alleviate that issue. So you will receive a copy of that updated document as well after today's meeting. Dr. Escamilla and Chairwoman Scott have been part of those conversations. So Dr. Escamilla, I'd like to give you the floor if you'd like to discuss the new appropriation request.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Villarreal. Regents, I would just like to let everybody know, just as Dr. Villarreal was saying, this 1.883 was so yesterday's number. It's now changed. And that had largely to do with, as part of my update, and I was talking about how the shortfall was somewhere around $1 billion versus that $4.5 billion shortfall that they were expecting. This number, 1.1883.2, was a number that was formulated early in the fall semester, given all the unknowns and everything else. So we come out of the fall semester, and lo and behold, things are much, much better financially speaking, as dire as they still are, relatively speaking, right? So I want everybody to know that this change, that is just occurring, occurred after much work that was done throughout the holidays, all throughout November, December, the latter part is December rather, and January, where the association got together. We had our first quarterly meeting in January. Excuse me. Excuse me. In January, and in short order, we've adjusted. We've pivoted according to the information that has come to us via our friends and neighbors at the Capitol. Okay, so it's a very important pivot. What a difference 24 hours makes, and what a difference a couple of months makes in the legislature. So we're in much better stead. Indicators such as this, and such as the selection of a former community college trustee in the place of a chairmanship, those are not coincidences. Those are not accidents. Those experiences are highly scrutinized before people are selected. So these are all positive indications. Okay, I know I've been the glass half full guy my whole life, but I'm going to continue to keep that stance and be optimistic as we move ahead in the session. Thank you, Dr. Villarreal.
Thank you, Dr. Escamilla. And so what we will get to you is that revised funding ask. You'll see a difference in success points and in contact hours, with an overall increase we're looking at probably at the end about a 2.3% increase. So we will get back to you with those numbers.
Dr. Natalie.
Next slide, please.
Dr. Natalie,
Yes, sir.
just one thing. One thing I forgot to mention. The whole idea is this was considered 18332 was considered level funding, but there were about 15 colleges that said there's nothing level about losing money. And so the ask, again, the pivot is bringing everybody at level spending and with no losses. Sorry, I just wanted to add that.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And this next slide is the second part of the agenda. And, just to remind you, the state of Texas has been using success points since 2013 for determining a percentage of the state funding that is allocated to the 50 community college systems. And so this page and it gives you the examples of a success point or a milestone. So for example, if a student completes 15 semester credit hours, that's one success point. Once a student completes 30, if they transfer, if they're awarded a degree or certificate in which the state deems as a critical field, is also considered a success point and can be reimbursed at certain rates. And so for our new regents and even all of our regents, sometimes it gets a little detailed and muddy. So we can always do a reminder and an overview of our student success points and our overall funding if you'd like to at a later time. Next slide, please. The second piece is the True Initiative. It's priority number 2. This is a special item request for reskilling and upskilling of our workforce. $1 million for each of the 50 community colleges for a total of $50 million is being put in as a special item request. This initiative would be creating sustainable pipelines to fill regional workforce needs, specifically now that the state is in recovery. It would also expand on micro-credentials and the short-term certificates for our underemployed workers, and also identify the high-demand short-term credentials to be recognized by the state's higher education initiative, which is the 60 by 30 Texas. Does anybody have any questions about that? So moving on with testimonies, now that Senate Bill 1 has come out, the testimonies have begun. So on Wednesday, February 24th, Chairwoman Scott and Dr. Brenda Hill, your Chancellor at San Jacinto College, will be testifying in front of the Senate Finance Committee about our new request and also about the True Initiative.
Dr. Villarreal, I wanted to talk about the evolutionary and the work in progress scenario that these TAC and CAT legislative priorities undergo in this process. So, for example, the True Initiative is something that we are proposing once we find a Senate sponsor and a House sponsor, that concept begins to get drafted into legislative language. There are opportunities, and obviously we're giving over this idea to the legislature, and it's gonna change form in some way, shape, or form. So these are our joint legislative proposals between the Texas Association of Community Colleges, the Trustee Association, as well as the Texas Community College Teachers Association. Those three entities come together now for the last 3 sessions and do this joint work so that we have a unified voice in what we are advocating at the legislative session. So I wanted to be clear that while these are our proposals, even the funding ask, even the success point rates, those kinds of things evolve over the next few months as we begin to negotiate directly with House and Senate sponsors, and ultimately they negotiate amongst themselves to pass a bill.
Absolutely. Thank you, Regent Scott. Actually, if we could go to the next slide, and really helps us to understand the importance of our advocacy work and our Del Mar College Day. And of course, because of the pandemic, we've decided to go on have a virtual Del Mar College Day and really create a day of advocacy at our Capitol. We talk a lot about helping people to understand where the real gem is in the community college world. And when you're advocating at the Capitol, as many of you have for Del Mar College and community colleges, you start talking to your legislators and the staffers, and we start to realize that a lot of them don't have a full understanding of the importance of the community college. and the mission of the college. Many of them have attended Tier 1 institutions, and so they may have taken a dual credit class here or there. But it's really our job to advocate and help them understand the importance of funding our community colleges and our students. And so on Thursday, March 4th, Del Mar College will be hosting a virtual DMC Day. This actually will be held in conjunction with Community Colleges Week. That's going to be hosted by TAC and CAT. That is scheduled for March 1st through the 5th. So if you haven't already, you should be receiving an email from Dr. Manny Gonzalez from CAT talking to you about the Community College Week, because that is also just getting started in the planning phases. So we will kick off our virtual DMC Day with the live feed that morning at 10 a.m. It will go for a full hour until 11 with Dr. Escamilla, our students, Chairwoman Scott, and different people talking about the importance of the college and of our legislative agenda. We will also highlight some of the TAC information that they are currently using in order to help us advocate. We will be using voices of our students, our faculty and staff, our local legislative officials, and external stakeholders in the afternoon. From 1 to 4 p.m., we will be doing a social media blast that will include statistics, stories, video vignettes about Del Mar College. We will be working to really try to get our audience, which is our legislators, but especially their staffers at the Capitol, to be engaged for that day. College Relations is doing a phenomenal job of getting creative and, again, how to really captivate our audience. We would really like your help as Regents on that day. So if you could mark your calendars for the 4th. So even though it will be a virtual day, there will be a lot of great content on social media. So whatever platform that you're most comfortable with, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, if you see content that you feel you would like to share with your audience, please feel free to share that. So that will be a significant help to the college and really give Del Mar College, virtual Del Mar College Day a boost. Does anybody have any questions on that before we move on? Okay. Thank you. Next slide, please. Now I'd like to transition to our national legislative agenda. Just like our state collaboration with TAC, CAT, and TCCTA, we also have a national collaboration with AACC and ACCT. They have presented their joint legislation for the 117th Congress. And I really want to point out the significance of these national organizations because they're so far away. We don't get to interact with them as often as we do with our state organizations. Sometimes it out of sight, out of mind. So for example, in 2020, this national agenda advocated for over 1,000 colleges, 2-year in community colleges, over 6.8 million credit students, and 5 million continuing education students. And those numbers are actually from the fall of 2018. So over 11 million students that these legislative agendas are advocating for, and 40% of all U.S. undergraduate students as well. Next slide, please. This national agenda is more robust than the previous agenda I shared with you for the 116th. It covers everything from federal student financial aid to innovation and compliance, focusing on veterans, the DREAM Act, all the way to infrastructure. You have been receiving information on webinars for ACCT. I will keep continuing to remind you about those if you ever have a chance. They're really good information to listen to. And if you ever have a chance, please let me know so that we can report back. But given the robust agenda, any chance you have to step in for an hour or so and to listen is a great experience. And actually this week, ACCT is having their virtual National Legislative Summit. That is usually attended by Regent Scott. where we get to go to the Hill, meet with our legislators, listen to our political analysts talk about what's happening. Right now, again, it is virtual. And so I was attending on your behalf. Unfortunately, today, I wasn't able to do that, but any information that I receive over the next 2 or 3 days, I will share with you on what's happening on the Hill. Does anybody have any questions on the national agenda? I will add there's some really great things happening on a bipartisan level. Dr. Silva and I happened to be on a call last week with Senator Cornyn, and they are doing a lot in a bipartisan way to really advocate and help our students on many levels. So that's very exciting and very promising to hear right now. Next slide. That concludes my presentation, Regents. If you have any questions.
Any follow-up comments or questions for Dr. Villarreal? Thank you so much for that comprehensive report. Moving on to our staff reports, a lot of good information being shared today. Our next one is to talk about the popular annual financial report for FY20, and Dr. Escamilla is going to tee that up for us.
Thanks again, Regents. Ladies and gentlemen, the popular annual financial report for fiscal year 2020 will be presented by both Mr. Garcia and Ms. Lorette Williams. I want you all to know that this is a piece that that analyzes and kind of overlays on top of our certified annual financial report, or our CAFR. This is the piece that really extrapolates that high-level data from all that voluminous data and information that comes in the CAFR, and is for us to use in the community and to present. I'm very proud to say that as for the new Regents and for everybody out there, that we've been producing a CAFR and POFR for a very long time now. And what I really would like to point out today is there used to be a distinguished budget. There was three pieces to this whole criteria, to these reporting these three levels of mechanisms that were put out. And as far as I know to this date, Del Mar College was the first college in the United States to have done all three in 1 year when we started out. And we had a great mentor of Raul's and mine from Illinois, Mr. David Hillquist, that helped us achieve this feat. It was a feat. Ask the people in the business office, I assure you. It didn't come easy. But that being said, I just wanted to share a little bit more history of something that occurred, I think, the better part of, 8, 9 years ago, 7, 8, 9 years, it has to be 8 years ago. But that being said, the popular annual financial report is very important for reporting and transparency, and Mr. Garcia will lead the rest of this conversation. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yeah, so thank you, Mr. President, for that introduction. The college has a history of issuing award-winning financial reports, including the popular annual financial report, most commonly referred to as the PAFR. And so, just going to pivot a little bit to the budget report. The team is currently planning and working with the GFOA to get that back on track to an award-winning report once again. What happened is a couple of years back, the GFOA changed their standards, and it was very difficult to meet those standards. And so now the GFOA has now transitioned into a new format that's going to allow more institutions to participate in this award process for the budget report. The Government Financial Officers Association has recognized the college for its excellence in financial reporting and transparency. A little bit more about the GFOA. Their mission is to advance excellence in public finance and assist organizations like ourselves with developing and identifying financial policies and best practices through education, training, and networking. Pivoting to the PAFR, the report is a scaled-down version of the college's award-winning comprehensive annual financial report. And if you've seen it, you recognize that it's that 120-page report. So what this PAFR does, it just reduces the report down to like a handful. Let's just say a handful for now. The report presents financial information that is visually appealing and includes narratives and graphs to explain items of significant importance without the technical financial jargon. Please advance to the next slide. So here it is. Simplified, condensed overview of financial information of the college. Next slide, please. Our most current 2020 PAFR includes a letter from the president, a listing of the most current board members' operational highlights, and a 4-year look back on the major components of our financial statements. The report highlights the quality of our faculty and the college accomplishments. For example, there is a segment on Professor Rob Heatherall, who is the recent recipient of the U.S. Presidential Award in Excellence in Science, Mathematics, and Engineering Mentoring. There's also a piece in our recent piece regarding our recent student-centric Sender Grant Award valued at $2.9 million. One last item on this slide, thanks to the collaboration with Ms. Lorette Williams' office and my office, the PAFR includes aesthetically creative financial data in our report without the technical financial jargon. The financial aid information on this slide, as you can see here, corner right, is a good example of how that looks significantly different than our original CAFR, which is just purely numeric values and a lot of technical footnotes. Transitioning to the next slide, please. So the college is committed to financial transparency and excellent financial reporting and continuous improvement. Accordingly, there are notable changes to this year's reporting in response to the recommendations provided by the GFOA in our last report submission. These changes continue to meet the reporting standards of the GFOA and will position the college to continue the tradition of an award-winning report for excellence in reporting and transparency. I will now turn it over to Lorette Williams, who will close out this presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia. As Mr. Garcia mentioned kind of early on, CRO actually serves in support of producing the annual PAFR with information that comes directly from the finance office. Every year we do receive feedback from the GFOA on the report, and last year we did receive feedback that the document should really try to focus more on financial highlights as opposed to general college highlights. So this year, we condensed the monthly college highlights to 3 major accomplishments, and Mr. Garcia mentioned one of those. Additionally, we inserted a section that's focusing on the college fiscal highlights to further refine the PAFR into a condensed financial document. Next slide, please. We will be providing printed copies for board members who would like one. You also have the electronic version that is here in your packet. Additionally, we have sent a PDF version over for ADA remediation so that we can go ahead and get that published on our website and out via our social media accounts. So we anticipate to get that back here within the next couple of weeks and post it on our website. Any questions that you might have?
Thank you very much, Mr. Garcia and Ms. Williams. We appreciate the information and look forward to, is this going to be, is this something we can forward electronically? You'll be sending us this item alone?
Typically, we hand them out. Lorette, what's the plan for distribution of the package?
Yes, absolutely. We can send this as a separate, in a separate email, an electronic version, an attached PDF, so that way you can share it. We'll also make sure to get you some printed copies as well.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments for Ms. Williams or Mr. Garcia? Thank you. Moving
Thank
on,
you.
our last staff report is related to the Aransas County Workforce Development and Entrepreneur Center. Dr. Escamilla? No, we'll go straight to Ms. Keys. Ms. Keys has been
Thank
working.
you.
Yeah.
There you go. Thank you. My camera's just a little slow reacting. Thank you very much. This is a brief update due to the action that was taken just yesterday by the Aransas County Commissioners Court. However, we will be providing additional information in coming months. And at that time, I'd be glad to show photos. I think we'll have some great photos at that point. As you know, Aransas County was hit very hard by Hurricane Harvey in 2007 and is still recovering. As part of the college's service area, we have worked with the community, Texas A&M Corpus Christi, and others to help rebuild their infrastructure and economy and provide education through dual credit within the county. Our Rebuild Texas is an exceptional example of our program in carpentry that was offered over the last 2 years in Aransas County. Last summer, at the invitation of the Aransas County Partnership Economic Development Corporation, we participated with the county and Texas A&M University Corpus Christi to support a grant application by the county to the U.S. Department of Commerce, EDA, to provide funding for a workforce development and entrepreneurship center. This is a $1.7 million grant with over $430,000 in community donations in the form of matching funds that was submitted. Yesterday, the Aransas County Commissioners unanimously accepted the grant award, and the county will now own a facility that is located at the Little Bay Primary School located on Highway 35 North in Rockport. The building was damaged during hurricane, and remodeling will take up to approximately 9 to 12 months. In support of this grant application, the college will operate the college will operate the facility and deliver instruction similar to our operation at the Northwest Center. We anticipate offering a variety of programs and courses that provide college credit and continuing education to meet the needs of the community. These programs will be at the out-of-district tuition and fee rate. The purpose is to work with the community and to continue to grow a highly skilled workforce, building off the TEAMS concept that was developed by Texas A&M Corpus Christi, with working with them for over a year. TEAMS stands for Technology, Entrepreneurship, Art, and Makerspace. For Del Mar College, this includes examples such as health science programs, light industrial, and highly skilled trades. Public safety, entrepreneurship, and the arts can all be offered. The college has a long-time relationship with dual credit courses within the community and with the students at the high school. This is truly an opportunity for the college to work with Aransas County as they try to rebuild their economy and their workforce and their community. And we also have been in close contact and working with their Economic Development Corporation, the school district, and the city. We were invited by all these entities and supported by all of them in the last few months. It's just been a real pleasure getting to work with the community in Aransas County. And I'm open to any questions at this point in time, but we will be bringing more information as this develops over the next 9 to 12 months.
It's probably too early for this question, but do you have enrollment projections based on the programs that are going to be offered?
It's really a very good question. Yes, we do. We had facilities programming do a demographic study to see what the population trends could be, and we looked at it by drive time to the facility, and we project approximately 800 students to begin with.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions?
I would just like to add a hearty congratulations to Miss Keys. She was the one who was invited. She kept using the word we, and I'm gonna interject there and say that it was her. It was Miss Keys who has those deep relationships across the bridge. For you newer Regents, you all got to know that Miss Keys is born and raised in San Pat County and knows Aransas County just as well. Has deep connections over there, and it was because of those that trust from the public and those deep relationships that she was asked to come back and represent Del Mar College. I was smart enough to just get out of the way and let her get over there and take this opportunity of this part of our service area that was devastated by a hurricane and still is feeling the effects in the economy, to establish a foothold there and to where otherwise for students who otherwise would not even consider coming OTB over the bridge. Okay, that's a different over the bridge, and that exists. And I just want to throw out there one more statistic that it's painful for me to share, but we know that over 45% of the students who leave high school in the San Patricio and Aransas counties do nothing for the first 5 years after leaving high school. 45%. Okay? And I'm getting a nod from Dr. Turner because I'm preaching to one of the choir directors here. And I appreciate that affirmation. This is a huge win for Aransas County and Del Mar College, and I give full thanks to Ms. Keys and for her due diligence on many, many weekends and late evenings and giving that extra effort over there. So I just had to say that. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Dr. Escamilla. Dr. Turner, you have a question?
Yeah, I just have a couple of things. So you're working with high school students, correct? And on those programs, are you seeing them to be part of that 800 student population that's going to, when they graduate high school, they're going to continue with their classes, or is this including dual credit class students already there?
The plan is that we would continue the dual credit classes located at the high school. The 800 students was a population group of age from 18 to 64. So it's truly focused on that adult learner. To give the opportunity to both groups, both population groups.
Oh, I think this is great. I mean, we've been needing a community college in that area. Beeville is still centered out, and they just need that connection with Corpus and the whole employment and resources and workforce. And I think this is great. So yeah, there's just not a whole lot of opportunities in San Patricio County for higher education. It's just, you're right, it's just dead after high school. So I'm so glad that you're moving forward and you have developed those relationships. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Turner. Is there anything else? Great job, Ms. Keys. Thank you so much for keeping us informed of this, and we look forward to continued progress reports on it.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, Regents, we'll move on to our pending items list in your board packet. We're covering quite a few things today in our February meeting. Upcoming in March, we will have a strategic plan update looking at some specific key performance indicators, as well as receive an internal audit report and a report on our tax collections. And then there's a couple of follow-up items as we discussed earlier in our workshop session that we'll be hearing in March as well. Dr. Escamilla referred to a full enrollment update in April. Our final base year numbers are due to the state in March, and so that'll be a big part of what he is talking about is the full base year report in addition to our spring enrollment numbers. And then in May, we will have one of our continuing workshops that we established last year talking about regional workforce needs and how Del Mar College is positioned to respond to some of those regional workforce needs. Anything else for our pending item that we're missing? All right. We will move on to our consent agenda items. There are several items attached to our agenda that are minutes, and there was the revised minutes that were sent out earlier today. So if you hadn't updated your packet, there are some revised minutes that were part of the updated packet this morning. And included in our consent agenda are investment reports for December and January, and then financial reports for December. Is there a motion to accept all consent agenda items as presented?
So moved.
A motion by Ms. Averett, a second by Mr. Garza. Any questions on those consent agenda items? All those in favor say aye or raise your hand. Thank you very much. That motion passes unanimously. I don't think there's anybody on the phone doesn't have a camera on. All right, moving into our regular agenda items. We start our regular agenda items with in a somber tone, having to talk about and accept the resignation of Regent Elva Estrada. Regent Estrada notified us in December of her, in writing, of her desire to resign from the board effective immediately. So we will have an action today to accept that resignation with regret. Regent Estrada served Del Mar College for over 14 years as a regent for District 3, and as a former educator and former principal, brought valuable expertise to the Board of Regents, and she is just an extraordinary woman, and we are going to miss her terribly. So I am going to ask for a motion to accept her resignation, and then allow the Regents to express some words on her behalf. So is there a motion to regrettably accept her resignation? Dr. Adami, you make that motion?
Reluctantly, yes, I do.
Thank you very much. Ms. Hutchison, you second?
With great regret, I second.
Thank you very much. I'm going to allow Dr. Escamilla to say a few words first, and then if you would like to open your mic when you'd like to speak, that would be great. Dr. Escamilla.
Thank you, Madam Chair. One quick correction there was received. The letter was received in January, just for the record, so we can document appropriately. Elva Estrada, leaving the board and going for personal reasons is such a difficult thing for me to accept. She was the last of the regents who hired me back in 2008, and so she and I shared that very special bond. She is, and while she was on the board, always maintained the heart of an educator. And for those in education out there, you know exactly what I mean. The heart for the student and a heart for the community and for LULAC and all the things with the Dr. Hector Garcia and the Garcia family and so forth. She's always promoted those while she was here at the college, and I supported her 1,000%. I'll tell you. And I just want to say thank you to her. I hope she's listening right now out there. I look forward to seeing her in due time. Both she and Moses are huge pillars in the community, and I've just dare say, particularly in the Hispanic community, where she is an advocate that just never stops, and with the heart of a servant and that kind of dedication, it's just with great regret that we, as a college, get to or have to accept her resignation. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Escamilla. Ms. Hutchison.
Yes, I just want to say, this is difficult. When I joined the board in 2009, I took the basic training that all the regents do. We watched the videos, we learned those basic steps, but that was my kindergarten lesson. And I got my graduate degree in how to be a regent from Elva Estrada. And she has that heart of a teacher. She didn't do it by giving me lectures or a whole lot of lists of things to do. It was just by watching what she did. And she does. She has that heart of the teacher. I know why all of her former students, who are always there to give her love, and she's made a tremendous impact on all of those. Elva has a quiet confidence. She's got a resolve. She's always civil, diplomatic, and that was part of her effectiveness that I hope to carry on. On a personal note, she and I would always arrive at board meetings early so that we could share pictures of our grandchildren. And we would always end the conversation with agreeing that each other had the second most beautiful grandchildren. And it was just a highlight. It was just a very personal connection that we could do there. And I was struggling to summarize what Elva means to me. And during our workshop, Augie Rivera quoted the Admiral as talking about what a hero is. And I love the idea of it's somebody with those character values that you honor. Those things like resilience and humility and honor. And I realized then that that's what Elva is. She's a hero to me. So I'm going to miss her greatly. But I'm not going to miss her because I'm still going to be on the phone with her, getting advice from her and keeping in touch with her. She will still be my counselor there. We're going to miss you, Elva.
Thank you, Susan. Nick?
You know, a true advocate, a true leader, somebody who really loved her community, her students, her former students. Everywhere we went with Elva, they knew her. You know, they revered and respected her. Elva, you know, I know you're listening. We love you. We're gonna miss you. You will be missed. And you had left an impression in my heart. And as well, you have educated me in leadership. Elva, we will miss you.
Thank you. Rudy?
Yes, I just want to say I didn't have an opportunity to serve with Elva, although we did serve in other capacities in the community. I just want to say that I deeply respect the contribution she made to Del Mar College. And I look forward to doing all I can to move Del Mar College forward, but regrettably and reluctantly, we do it without Elva by our side. So we're going to miss you, Elva, that's for sure.
Thank you. Libby?
Yes, I knew Elva before I joined the board, but got to know her a whole lot better since joining the board, and have always been struck by her, just her kindness and her grace, and the way that she modeled for me how to conduct oneself on the Board of Regents. And Elva, you have my thanks and my gratitude, my respect. You know, there are just certain people, I think, out there in the community who really show us how to be caring, compassionate, honest leaders of integrity. And Elva is certainly one of those people, and I am definitely going to miss her on this board.
Thank you all so much, and I realize, Dr. Turner, I'm not going to call on you unless you know Elva from a different capacity, but she is didn't have a chance to sit at the board table with her, but as everyone has expressed, her compassion and grace and her active work on behalf of our students will be missed at this table. She is a deeply personal and caring individual, and I'm going to miss my friend as well. So, all those in favor of reluctantly accepting her resignation from this board, please raise your hand. Any opposed to accepting that resignation? Thank you. We are all opposed to accepting it, but we have to accept it as our duty. So again, our best wishes for recovery and for her to be with us for many, many years to come. With that, I would like to ask Mr. Rivera to review. We have a possible action related to filling that vacant position for the District 3 regent, and so Mr. Rivera is going to share with us a process very, very similar that we have done in the past, and so wanted to look for you all to look at that and for us to take action today to open up the appointment process for the District 3 regent vacancy. Mr. Rivera?
Thank you, Regent Scott. And if I may invoke 30 seconds of personal privilege, since many of you mentioned Regent Estrada's former students. In the early 70s, when a younger Elva Estrada was a student at Texas A&I University, she did her student teaching at a small school, elementary school in Driscoll, Texas, where yours truly was in her class. So I'm proud to say that I have known Mrs. Estrada, my teacher, and Regent Estrada, and it's been an honor to have worked with her and seen her serve with such dignity and grace and integrity. We're going to miss her. On to the business at hand. Regents, before you, you have a sketched out appointment process. This will be what we, with your approval, send out. It's similar to what we have sent out in the past in terms of an announcement of the vacancy, as well as you opening up a process for solicitation of applications from potential candidates, and then we'll have a timeline in a second. As you can see, the requirements are basically spelled out. There's a link to the map for District 3, since this is one of our single-member districts. Outlines what we're asking candidates to submit: letter of interest, a resume, up to 5 letters of reference. We are, during COVID-19 time, allowing or providing 3 different means by which an application can be submitted, both regular U.S. mail, in person, by calling and arranging to drop it off here, and then electronically. The timeline that's being proposed today would be the announcement of the vacancy and the opening of the application period. The candidates would have until Monday, March 15th, 12 noon, to submit an application. The week before, by the way, is spring break. So that's why we're extending it to Monday at 12 noon. Tuesday, at your next regularly scheduled board meeting, you would have the opportunity to review any applications submitted, with the idea that candidate interviews would then take place at a special call board meeting on Tuesday, March the 30th. And assuming that the board is able to come to a decision, you would come out into open session and vote on the appointment of a new regent, leaving it so that you could swear in and seat the new regent at your April regular board meeting on the 13th of April. That's the proposed process and timeline. Any questions, or happy to answer them for you?
So I have a suggestion that we go ahead and note in the timeline that the college offices will be closed for spring break and those dates, and then with the notation that fax, email are still available, but they wouldn't. They need to know that the campus is going to be closed during that spring break period. And then
Understood. We can do that.
Thanks. And then I'd like Regents to take a look at your calendars on Tuesday, March 30th. And I think we had talked about a 9 a.m. date, and I don't recall. I think we had talked about a 9 a.m. date, interview time. The full length of it would be dependent upon the number of individuals we choose to interview. If there are a number of applicants and we need to narrow it down, we'll make that decision on Tuesday, March 16th. So I'd anticipate somewhere between 2 and 4 individuals that we would interview in general. And the very similar timeline to what Mr. Garza recently went through and Ms. Averett went through a couple of years ago. We would do a opportunity for them to make an opening statement, answer 2 or 3 questions that we provide them in advance, and then a few minutes for Q&A with the board, and then a closing statement. And all that to take place within about 30 or 45 minutes for each interview is traditionally what we have done. Any concerns with the process or the timetable? Is there a motion to adopt the process and timetable as presented? Dr. Adami, with a raising of his hand, makes that motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Averett. Again, any comments on that motion? All those in favor of adopting the process and timetable to replace Regent 3 regent, please raise your hand. Thank you. Any opposed? That motion passes unanimously. College Relations, along with Dr. Escamilla's office and our general counsel, will make sure that the appropriate news releases are sent out and information on the college's website to promote this vacancy. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to our next item, which is the discussion and possible action related to the appointment of a representative for the TERS number 2 board, which is the Padre Island board. I always have to state the geographic location of these TERS because the numbers are not quite as helpful as the geographic location. Dr. Mary Sherwood, as Regent of District 4, had assumed that position after Mr. Rivas's death. And so I have asked Dr. Lori Turner, as the Regent 4 representative, if she wanted to serve in that position, and she does. So with that, I would like to make the motion that we appoint Dr. Turner to the TERS number 2 board to represent Del Mar College. Is there a second to that motion? Thank you. Mr.
I second that.
Thank you. Mr. Garza raised his hand, so appreciate that. Any discussion on that motion? All those in favor, please raise your hand to appoint Dr. Turner as our representative to TERS number 2 board. Thank you very much. That motion passes. Dr. Turner, we appreciate your willingness to serve, to jump right in there. Thank you. Moving on to item number 6 is a discussion related to our tuition rate for the upcoming upcoming academic year. And I'm going to allow Dr. Escamilla to start this, and then he'll turn it over to Mr. Garcia.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Regents, ladies and gentlemen out in the community who are listening to this report, this is always, every February is a time where we have to review our tuition and student charges and assess an amount to move forward with. There's some inevitability, predictability in the way of increases that occur with student charges, as there are with costs on everything associated with in our economy. Education is no different. That being said, this past year is hopefully one that will not be repeated ever again. Hopefully, I think that's a little bit optimistic, given the basis of pandemics, or given the realities of pandemics and the realities of those sorts of things. But that being said, we come to you to discuss this very, very sensitive issue, which is around student tuition and fees. I have to bring up history. I think I've done that 2 or 3 times today, and I've been through this numerous times since I've been here. And what I want to remind everybody is I want you all to know that, one, these are things that have to be reviewed. This is part of our policy and practice, and for you all to review tuition and fees. We've done increases before. We've done small increases. We've frozen, and we've frozen tuition for several years at a time before, and then we felt the effect of that on later groups of students, where we raised tuition, I dare say, inordinately, because of our excuse me, because of the kindness and of the board to hold tuition back. So we have all these lessons learned out there, and so with that being said, we've got a year like we've never experienced before. We're about to complete a year like never before. So we have some inevitabilities, we've got predictabilities, we've got the needs of the college, we've got the quality of instruction for students, and then yet we have this once in our lifetime event, knock on wood, sitting upon us. We have a presentation for you to consider. It's not going to be easy. We understand. We understand our students' needs very well. But that being said, we also understand the time that we're living in. So I'm going to hand off to Mr. Garcia, our CFO, to present his data and information regarding tuition and fee assessments. Mr. Garcia?
Well, thank you, Mr. President. Next slide, please. So the fall 2020 registration will begin in April in a couple of weeks, which is why we start the budget planning process with the tuition and fee assessment in November. This will allow sufficient time for the college to update student communication channels. Today's tuition and fee assessment presentation is a repeat of the December board meeting with some updates. We will then open up the discussion on possible changes to the fee structure, starting with a $2 increase as a reference point. So please advance to the next slide. The Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board categorizes Del Mar College and listed college on this slide as a large college. The next grouping are the very large systems such as the Alamo Community College, Austin, and the Dallas systems. Let's go over a few characteristics, beginning with the biennium contact hours, which is a key driver for determining the college's state appropriations funding. And to a certain extent, it is an indicator about the college financial capacity. The contact hours for the group ranges from 2.8 million to 5.2 million, with Del Mar placing third largest at 4.8 million. The student headcount ranges from 8,036 to 12,291, with Del Mar having the second largest enrollment of 12,008. The majority of our students are enrolled in our academic programs and are mainly enrolled on a part-time basis. The group service district, the group's service district's median household income ranges from 45,000 to 69,000. We will circle back on this last data point in a few minutes. So let's transition on to the next slide, please. A lot of information here. So the key takeaway on this slide is Del Mar College delivers moderate, affordable academic programs when we compare ourselves to the group. The annual cost of attendance for the group ranges from Amarillo's $2,670 to South Plains $4,996. Del Mar's annualized cost of attendance is a moderate $3,260, and it is closely aligned with the statewide community college average of $3,250. The annual increase in tuition and fees is another measure to assess affordability. Based on a 7-year look back, the average semester credit hour increase for the group ranges from a low of $3.50 at Amarillo to a high of $16.55 at South Plains. The Del Mar student experienced the second lowest average increase of $5.05 during this 7-year look back. One more point before I transition to the next slide. Our students complete their first 2 years of a 4-year degree at 60% of the cost to attend the local 4-year institution. Please advance to the next slide. So this slide looks at affordability through the lens of the family's contribution before student family aid is awarded. The information suggests that our price point is moderate relative to our peer group. The family's contribution rate for every $1 of income for the group ranges from North Central 4 cents to South Plains 10 cents. The family's contribution at Del Mar is at the mid-range of the group, with 6 cents for every $1 of income earned. Please transition to the next slide. Thank you. So this next slide focuses on student financial aid. Again, lots of information. So the Association of Governing Board of Universities and Colleges recently published an article regarding student affordability and the cost of attendance. My takeaway is that there are a number of students and parents who are not well informed about using financial aid to reduce the published cost of attendance. Title IV Federal Financial Aid offers a wide range of student financial aid assistance programs. This slide has a few data points on financial aid. According to the 2018-19 year IPEDS reporting, the annual student financial award for the group ranges from Amarillo's $4,350 to Navarro's $5,720. The Del Mar student receives on the average $5,375, which is significantly greater than the 2021 annual cost of attendance of $1,850. This difference is refunded to the students that can be used to defray other educational related costs such as books, school supplies, childcare, etc. I want to transition to the student loans. Our students carry the least amount of student debt relative to our peer group. I had 2 reference points. From the lens view of the first-year student at Del Mar, our students have the second least amount of student loan debt at an average of $2,987. Now let's talk about from the lens of a student who has completed their Del Mar academic plan. Our students have the least amount of student loan debt at an average of $13,577. So one last item before I transition into the next slide, and I'm going to echo what the president reported earlier. The Coronavirus Response and Relief Supplemental Appropriations Act approved back in December 27 includes $1.9 million in financial aid assistance for the Del Mar student. This can be used towards any component of the cost of attendance or for emergency costs attributed to the coronavirus. Further communication of how a student can qualify for these dollars will be rolled out in the coming weeks. Next slide, please. So this slide is a historical view of the college's tuition and fee increases from the lens view of a high school senior planning their first year at Del Mar College. Beginning with the first table, tuition and fees increased by $43 from the beginnings of the fall of 2010 through the fall of 2013. This is about 7 times the increase during the 4-year period, beginning from the fall of 2014 through the fall of 2017. This exponential increase is attributed in part to the college's response to reduced state-based appropriations funding from a high of $18.7 million in fiscal year 2010 to $15.1 million by fiscal year 2014 on an annual basis. The annual cost of attendance table below will be used as a reference point to present 2 student scenarios based on the assumptions that our student completed their academic program in 4 years. So student A is a 2009 high school graduate and student B is a 2013 high school graduate, both of which started at Del Mar in the fall. Student A paid $408 in tuition increases over a 4-year period, and student B paid $96 in tuition increase over a 4-year period. So student A experienced 4 times more in tuition increases relative to student B. So one possibility to minimize this exponential tuition and fee increase experienced by student A is a long-term strategy of consistent, steady, and modest increases. My last point on this slide, I want to begin with a quote from Mark Twain. History may not repeat itself, but it rhymes. It appears today that we have civil and economic conditions caused by different circumstances. We also know from our history the state has responded to a downward shift in the economy with funding reductions. We are not at an inflection point whereby the state, there's early discussions for the 2022 and 2023 biennial funding. What is not certain today is if the state will respond similarly to the 2010 to 2014 years. Next slide, please. So I want to provide some tidbits of information about our fee structure. So our mandatory fees consist of a tuition rate and 4 different mandatory fees. The mandatory fees are used to fund specific operating costs. For example, student services fee is used for cultural programs, intramural sports, the student newspaper, and the Viking food pantry. The general use fee is used to fund technology centers, grounds, and maintenance, and campus security, and by the way, also graduation costs. The tuition rate is used to fund all other operating activities that are not funded with the mandatory fees. The table to the right is Del Mar's annual cost of attendance based on the fall and spring term enrollment of 16 semester hours. Transitioning to the next slide. So the College Forward value proposition continues to focus on student success in accordance with the College Aspire, Engage, and Achieve strategic plan with continued financial support in part with tuition and fees. The college's student success support system during the pandemic came to a great degree in the form of technology. The college increased technology investments to include cybersecurity and firewall enhancement, laptops purchases for our student loaner program, parking lot Wi-Fi access for our students, and an increase in licensing software products. There's also a plan to upgrade our telephony system or to add a telephony system that will enhance our student customer support services. As a final note on technology, the pandemic amplified the need for technology to deliver instruction and student services that a continued commitment as a technical business continuity strategic will help minimize future disruptions. The last topic of the presentation is difficult. It is a discussion around a tuition change using a $2 tuition rate change as a reference point. This includes the $1 minimum requirements described in our board policy. The $2 tuition rate change would generate $316,000 for the college. If we look at the change from the lens view of our student, the cost of the fall semester will increase by $16 based on a student enrolled in 8 semester credit hours, which is equivalent to 2 classes with labs. Dr. Rito Silva, Vice President for Student Affairs, Beverly Cage, Director for Student Leadership and Campus Life, and myself have met twice with the leadership of student government on this subject. Sofia Jimenez, President of SGA, was understanding of the change with the caveat that a change would need to be reasonable. I think the $2 change as a reference point would meet SGA's expectations. Madam Chair, how would you like to proceed with this discussion?
I'd like to see if there's any feedback or questions from the board on the proposed $2 rate change. Ms. Hutchison.
Have we ever been able to track historically the impact of increases on enrollment? Is there any way to, is it 2 apples and oranges, or do we have any data in that regard?
I'll take that one,
Ms.
Ro.
Hutchison.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll take that one. That's a very nuanced question that I would have to dive into some data sets to pull that out. I know there's multiple team members listening to this right now. Regent Hutchinson, the best I can do, I think, at this point. I don't want to just discount that and say, no, there's not been. I just don't have those off the top of my head.
I mean, is that even helpful? Is it too hard to relate the two of those, or is that something to keep an eye on?
Well, I think it's always something. Affordability being one of the pillars of our college and all community colleges is very important. And what I mean by affordability, well, when we maintain less than 30% of a regional university for the same number of instructional hours for the same classes. Those are important things to keep track of and to be watching and to maintain, philosophically speaking, and then actually speaking with our rates. I don't want to say it's apples and oranges, Regent Hutchinson. I would need some time to answer that question. It's very specific and nuanced, really. It's a very sophisticated question.
I don't want to get to the point where we're raising the fees, obviously, and then we're sending students away. I mean, I don't want that because I don't want to lose those students, but it doesn't do any good for our bottom line if that makes a difference. And I'm sure there's a tipping point there. I wish I knew what it was, but I'm not sure anybody can tell me.
Yeah, a tipping point still, I would dare say we're a ways away. If we were to ever leave the philosophical approach of affordability and say, you know what, let's just put it all on the students, like other institutions are, like many institutions do, different types of, not community colleges, you know, they rely on a very different model. I don't think we're near the tipping point, as long as the thing is that everyone else is going up as well. The universities are going up proportionally, and I think proportionally, you know, we remain where we are. This all has to do with the deregulation in 2003. That's what we're paying for to this day. So when they did that, when the legislature did that back in 2003, it just opened up the floodgates of costs for all students. That's the best answer I can give you there. I mean, I think there will be a tipping point one day, but I think that would really be, that would come on the heels of a departure from our core mission as a community college. That's the best answer I can give you right now.
I'm going to go to Mr. Garza and then come to Dr. Turner. Mr. Garza?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've just got concerns about raising tuitions at this point in time. I don't believe that we should just raise tuition rates just because other institutions are raising tuition rates. We serve some, I'm going to say, very needy students in our area. Del Mar College, as affordable as it is, with the 61% or percentage of our four-year university, still serves students that might not otherwise at all be able to go to college or be able to continue their education. That certainly was the case in my example when I went to Del Mar College back in the mid 70s to mid 80s. Looking at the cost is still in 2020 $3,260, and for a student, and you talk about students that are going to school and they're not going full time, it's because a lot of them are working full time and they're going to school part time. We have great programs in terms of what we do to try to help with the Del Mar Community Foundation in order to be able to afford scholarships, but we're only serving about 24% of our student population in terms of the amount of scholarships that we actually give out. And that's going to be about 1.8 million maybe this year, with the hope we're going to get from the state in terms of COVID-19 funding, maybe 1.9. That'd still be in the area of about $3.5 million. But still, I think that for the students that don't ask for help, that are maybe not willing to go into debt because their parents have taught them not that debt's a bad thing, and not to go into debt if they can absolutely help it. Their choice is tuition rates go up, and this is a modest tuition increase that you're asking for. I'm not thinking it's unreasonable, but it just, in this particular point in time, where the likelihood is that their hours in their jobs are either being curtailed, or tips that they're earning if they're working in the local restaurants might be very minimal. I just think that this tuition rate could be detrimental to their higher education efforts. If the board feels differently than I feel, that then I'd ask that you maybe just consider $1 an hour rate change versus a $2 rate change. I think, and I might be naive in my belief that some of our costs related to the technology that investments that we made in terms of COVID-19 and instructional technology, some of those costs we might be able to defer, may be able to be made whole, at least in some part, by some of these grants or some of these COVID-19, I'm going to say, reimbursements. I'd rather not pass it on to the students at this particular point in time. And that's my position at this time. And I'm open to listening to the rest of the Regents' viewpoints on this particular issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garza. Dr. Turner.
Yeah, I'm concerned about raising tuition too, especially being in public schools and seeing families and students struggle. I mean, they can't even buy a notebook at the moment. They can't even bring a pencil to school. They're just struggling. I see kids wearing the same clothes day after day because parents aren't working. And I'm just really concerned, especially since we have so many students that are in dual credit programs. Are you going to, is this including raising those tuition fees for dual credit students, or is it just going to be for freshmen age and over? And I was wondering, I like to see something for loss of revenue on tuition versus all the extra grant COVID money that we're getting. I mean, we're getting 10.6 million, and 1.9 of that money is supposed to be going to students. I'm assuming that's scholarships and helping out with finances. So, I mean, is there ways that we can offset raising tuition? I really think that we should be responsive to our community and show them that we really care and understand our community at this time. But I think there might be ways where we can funnel things. I mean, can we reduce a building fee since there's hardly any students in the buildings? Can we reduce $1 of student services since we're not really offering a whole lot of services to offset that $2 tuition fee? So I just don't know. There might be ways where we can finagle and still accomplish what we need to accomplish.
May I respond?
I don't know. I just think we have a lot of room, and I think it's just not cut. I don't know what other people can think about that. But again, I'm new. I'm just trying to look and find ways.
Dr. Turner, if I may respond quickly, just to answer the questions so that they are answered. This will not affect the dual credit rate. First of all, to answer your question, that part of your question, you bring up a very valid point in that we've realized these new federal dollars very recently, very recently. We still have not unpacked that completely. We do know that at least 1.9 million will go to the students. Okay, and I say that because we have discretion to raise that to a proportion that is that we deem suitable according to the federal government. That we do know as per the rules and regulations of those particular dollars. So you bring up very valid points. We do understand the students' plight out there, their families. We know you were in the trenches out there, so to speak, with the families. We very much empathize and can relate from our roles here at the college. Just finally, it is an opportunity. We have opportunities. Again, we are facing unprecedented times with unprecedented opportunities that we've realized as per the federal government. I do hear you. We are just putting numbers out there for perspective. We've not made a solid recommendation. This is the first time in the 10 years that I've not made a solid recommendation, because these are unprecedented times. Absolutely. And we have realized those funds. My last point is this: those dollars are one-time dollars, and what we do today and or don't do today will always affect future classes of students. That we've learned. So so we have one-time dollars that we can plug in. We've put aside our risk reserve fund. We've just realized dollars that we're quite surprised about from the federal government. And the economic circumstances are better off than we thought, according to the state comptroller. So from our perspective, we are balancing all those things again, and understanding that we are living in unprecedented times and may call for unprecedented, or not. Well, we may call for actions that we have not seen in at least several years. Thank you.
Ms. Averett.
Let me start by saying I support and I understand the strategy that we have moved to have very modest increases every year, as opposed to, unfairly burdening a certain group, a few years of students who just happen to come to our campus during the time where we raise rates, more than $1 or $2 a semester hour. That said, I'm having a very difficult time this year, just this year, raising tuition. And I do understand that then carries a burden for future students. But my question, before I really decide that for sure, is if we did not raise tuition at all, if we didn't generate either the 316,000 or 158, are we far enough along yet, Dr. Escamilla, for you to tell us what that would mean, what you would have to cut, or where you might get that revenue elsewhere? I just want to make sure I fully understand the consequence if I vote not to raise tuition, what the consequence of that action would be.
We would get through this. We have put together contingencies, and with the federal stimulus dollars now being realized, we would be able to move ahead and consider, though not a loss of revenue per se, but we would be able to factor this in going forth and recover. Okay, we could get through this financially. We could, if we went through this. The problem is the one-time dollars will go away, and the gap will show up down the road. That's the only problem. So it'll have to come at a later time, and that's okay. We can fill it with one-time dollars, be it whether it's risk reserve fund or these federal dollars that we're just now realizing, and we could get through it. That's what they were for. That's what those dollars were for. And that's my best answer. We can get through it for sure. It's just we're going to have to pay it down the road somehow when there's a little blip or a little dip in the revenue streams of the future. Again, just for the new Regents, the $1 Regents is by policy not mandatory. It can only be approved with your vote and approval by vote, but it also doesn't have to be. It could be tabled easily as well. So that it's not. There's a kind of a misnomer. It has this mandatory piece about it. It's just mandatory that we as administration bring it automatically for consideration. That's the only mandatory piece about that for Dr. Turner and Mr. Garza. So I just want to clarify that. That being said, look, we can make an exception if there ever was a time. I mean, this is the time that we would, if you were to forego an increase at all. We're very fortunate. If we were in dire straits in other ways financially, if the forecast wasn't good, if we didn't have these federal dollars, if we didn't have those dollars that we set aside in the risk reserve fund, I'd be having a very different tone right now. Mr. Garcia and I have talked about that many an evening from our back porch to our back porch while we're sitting there late into the evening contemplating this presentation weeks ago, over and over and over. Again, the $1 and the $2 just for perspective. It's not our solid recommendation.
Ms. Hutcherson, you had your mic open a few minutes ago, and then I think Dr. Turner has a follow-up question. Susan, did you have your mic open a second ago? Okay, Susan, I think you've got an unstable connection for a few seconds. So I'm going to go ahead and go to Dr. Turner, and then we'll come back to you.
So I just want to make sure. So tuition goes into a general fund that just covers the budget, right? The departments and all the money, all the expenditures that go out. And then you have the fees that go into the specific areas, correct?
Yeah, so our fee structure is designed for a specific purpose, and so the tuition and fee component is to fund pretty much everything else that is not already described for the fees. So can you please bring me back to the previous slide, I think, or the...
Yeah, I mean, I take a picture of it. I mean, I have it on my phone, so it's looking at the fees.
Yeah. So the fee structure is very designed and intended for a specific purpose, and so yes.
So I mean, there's some wiggle room. I mean, if you raise the tuition to the $2 to make sure that everything's covered within the departments and safety and all that, I mean, you could reduce $1 in building use or $1 in student services to offset, making sure that all the others are covered versus things that we really aren't utilizing during the COVID time. I mean, just for this year, just to, make sure we don't really want to use that reserve fund. So we want to make sure that, those items are being covered. But I mean, I think there's ways that we can do to satisfy to make sure that we are tight.
So here with the building use fee, I understand that logic, and we were anticipating this. We've received calls, and I've got emails and other things saying, look, with those buildings, I'm not using those buildings. Why are you charging for those and that sort of thing? The pandemic will evolve. We will go back to face-to-face sooner than later this year. The buildings are living, breathing things as well. They require maintenance. It's like a house. You don't maintain a house, it will fall apart before your eyes. The buildings are the same way. If there's a place, I would rather, if there's a place for consideration, I'd go back to this coming year's dollars, what the $1 or $2 that we're talking about, versus the building fee. Those buildings, there's still much maintenance that goes on, and upkeep, and we're still paying the bills, we're still paying electricity, we're still paying all of those things.
I mean, I was just using that for an example. I mean, is there other areas that we can subtract a dollar?
It would be on the front end. It would be on the front end. It'd be one of those two. It would be either one and or both of those $2 that I would focus on, that I would recommend focusing on.
Get through this.
Rudy, your mic is still open. Did you have another question? Okay.
Madam Chair, at this juncture, hearing what I've heard right now, and so that we don't, so that we can move on, I think the $1 fee is based on the feedback that we've been receiving and been talking about since December. Is our, if there is a recommendation, is our strongest recommendation at the $1 level.
Okay.
For your consideration.
So we have a definitive recommendation from our CEO on a request for $1 increase in our semester hour tuition.
Yes, I'm going to try it with
Hi, Susan. Well, Susan's having connection problems today. Okay. So I appreciate this discussion, and I think part of where the board difficulty lies is in understanding the use, both of the direct student benefit as well as the CARES Act funding and other funding, and where those dollars are being placed, which we're going to hear in hear in more detail at our March meeting. So I think that there's some legitimate discussion, and I think very valuable discussion around the use of those dollars to shore up both our current fiscal year funding as well as what's happening for the next fiscal year, understanding the evolution of how we recover from this pandemic.
Yes, ma'am.
The other piece that is difficult is the legislative appropriations and what's currently in Senate Bill 1. What we are asking for is what we're asking for. We may not get it.
Correct.
And I don't know if we were one of the 30 colleges who were actually projected to lose money under the current Senate Bill 1 scenario.
There were 15 under the scenario that I had seen, and we were not one of the 15.
Okay.
The 30, I never got solid data from the state and or the association to determine if we were one of the 30. Either way, we were close.
Okay.
We were too close. And that is another thing that I'm so glad you brought up. It's just the legislature, when we're at this point, you'll find this now and at the budgeting time for next year, as we start developing the budget for next year, that we just don't know what we don't know. I'm optimistic, but we've been there before, and we have to set things and use as much predictability as we have in front of us based on what we know today.
To me, the bigger risk that we have is not the $1 or $2 rate for tuition increase. It is the decline in enrollment and our lack of. We know that what we've heard anecdotally across the state is that first-time in college students are staying away. They're not starting college until they can be assured of a face-to-face instruction. And then we know some of our students have chosen to not come back until we're ready to go face-to-face. So to me, that is actually the bigger risk and the bigger threat to our financial viability, because so many of our students are on financial aid. Yes, ultimately, what goes to tuition is something they cannot use for living expenses in books and other things, but because we do have so many students on financial aid, some of that is not coming directly out of their pockets. That's the balance in my mind.
Yes, and here's the other thing too. The difference 8 months will make is tremendous. We're talking about a tuition increase for next academic year, 21-22. It will be a very different time next year with the vaccine proliferating and other things. There will be a sense of normalcy next year and a spike in enrollment as people, because the unemployment rate will remain low, people will be, theoretically speaking, vaccinated and we will be returning to normalcy. So there will be an uptick, and then that's where we'll fill the gap that I was talking about. So we're really talking about future dollars here, and you've got to really picture, Regents, what we will look like, or at least imagine what we will look like next fall. The consumption rate, if you will, or the participation rate, enrollment will go back up. There will be a spike because the unemployment rate is still down. People will be, it will be safer, let's just say that. It will be safer for people to return to face-to-face scenarios and those sorts of things. And there will be a positive surge this time. That surge will be coming in the way of enrollment. That is the other thing that the state is discussing, the association is discussing, what we're sharing with the legislators. It's as much about, so many discussions like today's is all about next year. Okay, so you have to be thinking about next year. They're not going to get that pay increase this year, that tuition increase this year, this current semester or even summer. It will be fall. So I know you know that. I know we're talking about that, but I've got to kind of position us all to imagine what fall will look like and next spring will look like. What we're being told is expect a relatively normal academic year next year. I hope so. I don't know if that's going to be the case, but given the science that's out there, given the information that the CDC and other governmental agencies are giving us, including our state of Texas and coordinating board and TAC and others, that's the best. That's the outlook.
Regent Hutchison is back. I was going to give her an opportunity to make her comment or ask her question.
Yes, sorry. I hope my connection is a little bit better now, and this may be delayed, but I think I wanted to approach what Mark was saying as well. Is, you know, whatever we decide is going to have a consequence. And whereas my heart is to keep affordability, I want to make sure we decide that we may have a consequence. Let me put it this way. My goal or my focus is on the student, but it's not just affordability, but it's making sure they're getting a quality education. I don't want to be the bargain basement institution. I want to make sure that we're not saying, great, this is a great deal, but you're not going to have this technology and your building's going to be falling down. And I just want to know what the consequence is to the student, both in the cost and also in what they're getting.
Thank you. So we heard a recommendation from our CEO for the $1 rate increase. Is there a motion from a board member related to our tuition? And unfortunately, we have to do this month so that we can begin to publish the catalogs and all of the other information required for enrollment next fall. So this is not something we can table. Yes, Dr. Adami? I saw you waving your hand.
Yeah, you know, and I agree. You know, if we don't take care of it now, we're going to have to look at the consequences down the line. Do we have to double tuition rate when it comes time to do it again a couple of years later? Maintaining, I think a constant tuition is great, but again, I agree with Susan. We have to look at the long-term effect on it. Affordability is good, but we have to think of the type of education Del Mar will be producing.
Regents, remember that other indicator that Mr. Garcia gave us, that our students incur the least amount of debt, and that's then when you add to that the quality of instruction, the quality of facilities, the quality of technology, and all those sorts of things, those are very good. We call them correlates when you start looking at when you start analyzing the student experience here.
All right, I will. Go ahead.
So I'm just, you know, you're talking about the quality of education. So how's the quality of education going to be worse than what it is now with the tuition and the way it is? So if we don't raise tuition, the quality of education will reduce over the next few months?
No,
not over the next 2 months, but my response would be eventually. I mean, it has its consequences. And I don't know where it's going to be. I raised that question. Is it that we can't increase salaries and therefore we're going to lose some good faculty? Is it? I mean, it's not. It's not like, well, you cut out the fat. If there's no fat, are we going to be cutting out some quality? Are we not going to be upgrading? I don't know, Laurie, what that's going to be, but it concerns me.
And again, we've got the unknowns of the appropriations too, Dr. Turner. That's, you know, every other year. Next year this time we'll have the rates. We'll know what the appropriations are from that leg of the stool. So we'll have even more predictability. This time, every other year, our role here at the college is kind of over has a cloud of unpredictability about it that we won't have next year. That's just the way it is during the legislative session. I know you're very familiar with that, Dr. Turner, but that's what's giving here, and that's the only thing that's given me pause. There may be some areas of, you know, yeah, we're going to be able to fill things one time costs this year and maybe even next year, but it's like everything else. You'll feel the effects. The college will feel the effects down the road. Again, $1. Every penny is precious to our students. I say this every year. $1 is a very modest investment to sustain. It's about sustainability of quality, Dr. Turner. I think that's the way I interpreted what Regent Hutchinson was saying.
Okay, I will agree for $1. I would vote for that.
$1 per credit hours, not just $1.
Compromise, because I really don't like to do this year. I really think it's, families just having such a hard time. $1 I would be okay with.
Agreed. I fully appreciate where you're coming from, Dr. Turner. I think we'll be coming back to you in subsequent board meetings with some other ways of hopefully making this up to our students. Stay tuned. The information is still too new at this point with regard to the federal dollars.
So the recommendation of a $1 rate change per semester hour is the proposal on the table. Is there a motion to that effect? Dr. Adami makes that motion with a wave of a hand. Is there a second to that motion? Susan Hutchison seconds that motion with a wave of a hand. Mr. Garza, did you have another question or comment?
Yeah, I just want to make, trying to get on. It's on now. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, I can.
Okay. Yeah, I'll support the $1, and I do understand the need to be able to have sustainability over the long term and not wanting to have any drop off in the quality of education. I'm going to support the $1. I just kind of wonder we're going to raise another $158,000 in revenue, and I know we're spending money in advertising in order to get our enrollment up. I like to believe the projections that they're saying that the enrollment is going to come back up anyway next year, but I just wonder how much benefit there might be in an advertising campaign to say that we left the tuition rates flat in order to be able to get some of our students back. And so again, just a food for thought. I'll support the $1 if that's what the board wants. But I just kind of wonder whether we couldn't get a lot more mileage on the $158,000 in our advertising campaign by leaving the tuition rates flat and relying on increased enrollment to be able to build our sustainability effort.
And I would like to maybe look at the budget and kind of look at things where we could cut, where are some of the excess. And I know I looked at the budget and I know all the departments basically went down because of not using some of those services and not traveling and so forth. And I do appreciate that. And I know the budget didn't go up, it stayed. And, I don't know. I just think there's still a lot of wiggle room that we can work through. Maybe, just do a deeper dive and really kind of clean up and look at stuff. Because I noticed on the safety and the police. I mean, do we have a police academy program? I mean, I know we educate and stuff, but it looks like we're spending a whole lot of money on our own safety. And there's a lot of things in there that I wasn't real sure about, so I kind of really need to do a deeper dive on the budget and see where maybe things can, be, I don't know. I'm just talking.
No, it's okay. Please call me, Dr. Turner, anytime you have a specific question, and we will unpack whatever budget item you are needing information for.
So I certainly agree with you, Mr. Garza. I think there are opportunities there for us to look at the use of how we get the best use out of even a $1 semester tuition raise. So there's cost of living and salary increases associated with our faculty, but I think one of the key areas is for us to look at the CARES funding and anticipate some costs that we don't normally have. I think we're going to have a number of students based on virtual education at the public school level and based on virtual education that we've been having here that are going to need some specialized tutoring and going to need some catch-up work. So I think there's an anticipation of costs that we need to see around the use of those CARES dollars, some of which are going to, again, supplement lost revenue in the current fiscal year, but some of which we need to look at how do we use those to best benefit our students in the long run.
We'll be bringing that to you next month.
So there is a motion and a second on the floor. And are there any more questions or comments related to that motion? I'm going to do a roll call vote so that we can clearly identify folks. So I'm going to do this in alphabetical order. If you vote for or against the motion, please say yay or nay or yes or no or whatever you want to do to vote yes or no. Dr. Adami.
Yes.
Regent Averett.
No.
Regent Garza. Regent Garza?
No.
Okay. Regent Hutchison?
Yes.
Dr. Turner?
I'm so good.
Did you
What
vote?
happens when if I say no, what happens?
We have a tie because I'm going to vote yes. So we would have a tie and the motion would fail.
And then what do we do?
Then we don't have a tuition increase for this year.
All right, I'll vote no.
Okay. So that motion fails. So we will keep our tuition at the same rate this year as there was last year. So no tuition increase for fiscal year 22. Thank you very much, Mr. Garcia, for your work on this. As you can tell, it is a very difficult decision for the board, and that doesn't negate the work that you have done. It's important for us to look at this in context. It's just such a challenging year for us.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair and the board for your consideration.
Board members, we have a couple of more kind of lengthy reports or action items on our regular agenda. It is 3:37. I would like to let you all take a quick break, so we will come back at 3:45 p.m. All right, Regents, we will begin reconvening. It's 3:45 p.m. If you can turn on your cameras so that we know you're back with us. All right, we're waiting for Dr. Turner, and then we'll be ready. Sure, Dr. Turner will join us shortly. We'll make a note when she arrives, but we do have a quorum and can continue with our meeting. So I'm going to ask, next item on our agenda is related to the college's quarterly financial report and, investment report first, sorry. Quarterly investment report, and Mr. Garcia, thank you, Dr. Turner has joined us. Thank you. Mr. Garcia, please tee up our quarterly investment report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the nation's pathway to full economic recovery from the lows of March appears to be promising due to, in part, by the deployment of the vaccine, the stimulus supplement funding that our president just reported on, and the near zero short-term federal rates. Today, we have Linda Patterson from Patterson and Associates who will expand on these financial and geopolitical activities that are impacting our investment yields. And she will also go over the college investments portfolio performance and strategies in pursuit of higher yields in this low interest environment. Ms. Linda Patterson.
Thank you. I hope that you can hear me. I know it's always a challenge. And I know that you have a very long agenda today. I've been listening to the agenda so far, and I also know that a lot of people can be immediately put to sleep by any kind of discussion of economics. But it is important for you to have an idea of where we think the portfolio is and where the rates are going to be going. So if we can move to the first slide, to the next slide. Obviously, the market, once we got past the election, the market still continues to focus on politics and the glee involved with the stimulus money coming out. What they tend to forget on this sometimes is that we have already spent $3.9 billion in stimulus dollars. And it's going to be a long time before we get out of the longer term effects of so many trillions of dollars being put into the economy. Unfortunately, the euphoria and the animal spirits that you probably have seen more closely on the stock side with Reddit and Robinhood and the new historic highs of all of the stock and equity markets, they tend to forget the details involving the fact that payrolls remain very, very low. There are a lot of people out of work. And the fact that the unemployment rate has gone down is really just a function of understanding that a lot of people are not trying to get a job now, and that will automatically lower the rate. So there are a lot of details coming out in the deep breakdown of weekly data. So payrolls are not doing very well. ISM, or the purchasing managers, the Institute of Supply Management, is very, very decreased right now. And it's a matter of the economy versus the virus. So as we get a handle on the virus, you're going to see the economy coming back, but it is definitely going to be a long, long road to hoe. The ISM is a good example of that. The backlog on supplies is going up. The supply deliveries that are not then going out as product. The wages are up, but the exports are down, and the new orders are down. And this kind of move just starts to ripple through the rest of the economy in the supply chain. Now, we've had the Federal Reserve working very, very hard, and I think I've told you before that I refer to them as our economic first responders, because they have stabilized the credit markets, they've lowered the interest rates, they've upped the asset purchases that they're doing to keep the rates low, which also then helps one of our main areas in the economy, and that is housing. So the Fed, and I was just listening to one of the Fed presidents, the Dallas Fed president, the other day, and it's pretty universal with the Fed. They are definitely going to keep the overnight rate, the only rate that they can actually set, that overnight rate at zero through 2022. So when you hear the interest rates going up and down, we're talking about 1 or 2 basis points right now. And the Fed has also made several statements that we're going to have less of a decline in 2021, but we probably won't see likely growth until 2021, late in the fourth quarter. And And that's all going to depend a great deal on the virus and the vaccine coming out so that the economy can open again. Because as you know, as well as I, that every time we open it up a little bit, we have a situation where it pulls back together again. And it's not a new concern for the Fed. It is certainly a concern that goes with the rest of the downside risks. So if we look on the next slide, yeah, there is a focus on the downside risk here. The fourth quarter GDP and the current GDP are looking at about 4%, but that is you have to look back a couple of quarters and say in September, October, we had a great start going on. People were positive again, and there was a look going into the election that things would be settling down. But the first focus has to be on the downside because the economy is stalling again. The consumer confidence that you saw on the prior slide is just not growing. There are just too many things like tuitions, like cost of food, like utilities, homelessness, and so forth that are making the consumer's confidence slow down. And also, the unified government now, there's a lot of hope that Biden's agenda will go through, and we're going to see a good test of it here on the stimulus on the first vote, but it doesn't guarantee it because it's going to meet some pretty harsh realities when the fiscal facts are actually addressed, and that is that huge debt, trillions of dollars of debts that is building up, and we're going to have to deal with that as we go forward. Another thing that you don't hear a lot mentioned, but is definitely throughout the world, from Myanmar to North Korea to Brazil, the political unrest and the global hotspots are going to keep people running to safety. And that means they run into our market, and it means that the rates stay low. The bank quality, I see this a lot because I do a lot of bank consulting, but I see banks simply not able to go in and compete as much right now, especially for public entities. And that's because this curve is so flat that it's difficult for a bank to make money in it. And so the bank asset quality, where it's still, our banks are very strong and the Fed's going to support them. I'm not saying that there was weakness in the banks, but yeah, there's definitely not the asset quality and profitability that there was even last year this time. And there's a fear of a double dip recession that's growing greatly in Europe, and of course Europe settling into the Brexit deal. And that's going to affect our bonds also. It's not to say that there aren't any good signs. Real estate with mortgage rates, I heard someone got a 1% mortgage in Michigan last week. I can't believe that. But there are good signs. The real estate, and when real estate moves and people, as they decide to move out of the cities and out to the suburbs, they're building homes. And that means they need commodities. They need lumber, copper, aluminum. And then you need new drapes and new carpeting. You know, it just goes on forever. So the new trends, there's going to be some starts and stops this year. But if we'll go to the next slide, I'll show you what it's been doing to the rates where your portfolio is invested. You basically invest out the bulk of your money out into the 2-year area. And you can see that that is very, very flat. Now, Fed funds on the far left is going to stay at 0. That doesn't mean the whole curve is going to stay like this. And you can see that on the longer end, it's gone up a little bit in January. But it does mean that we're going to stay here on the short end, very low for very long. And you can see on there, for instance, the 3 months at a 5 basis points. 7 basis points to go out 6 months, 10 basis points on a good day to go out 1 year. Those are dismal, dismal rates. And what we've been trying to do with the portfolio is because of this, we're keeping a lot liquid, just because you can't go out into and spread it across the 1 to 2 year area as we normally would do. You actually have $100 million currently sitting under 9 months. So we're always protecting the liquidity, but we want to add to the portfolio yield and value. And the way we do that is we use commercial paper and short municipal debt, state and local obligations, out to about the 1 to 2 year area, but the commercial paper out into the 270-day area. And you can see the reaction to this by creating a slight bit of a barbell and moving out the curve and extending it to get some value. If you look at the value and the yield on your non-cash portion of the portfolio, it's at 0.5%, 0.52. So basically 0.5%, whereas liquidity is running right now at about 5, and on a good day 10 basis points. So 0.10 of a percent. Looking at the portfolio itself on the next slide, you can see that I'm sure this makeup doesn't surprise you at all. When we look at the various major portions of the portfolio, always a lot of your money sits in local Maine. And of course, the tax money goes in there immediately. So the INS, or the interest in sinking funds, are relatively low this period of time, especially since these numbers are back in November for your November quarterly report. But then your Series A, your 2018 and 2020 series bonds are where a lot of the money, especially in the 2020 Series B, is actually sitting 27% of that. And all of the bond funds they're decreasing as the construction goes along. On the next slide, I've gone back and looked at the pooled fund groups. Now this is excluding the bond funds. So excluding the series 2018 and 2020 A and B, then we're looking basically at local Maine and plant and INS funds. And again, this is from November for your quarterly November board report. And so it had the average in 1920 was 94 million. You were down a little bit at the end of November at 88 million, but of course that's right before the taxes start to come in also. But you can see how close the book value is and the market value. And in fact, what that tells you is that it's 88.2 is your book value on the portfolio. If you had to take everything and sell all the securities and sell them, you would actually get 88.3. So we try to keep that very, very close. If not, try to get you the best profit as possible. This WAM looks long at 241 days. And what that means is that in 241 days, not even 3/4 of a year, the bulk of your portfolio would be liquid if we stayed right at this point. And the yield overall on the portfolio in November was a 0.47, which again doesn't look really good, but your benchmark by policy is set by the board is the 6-month T-bill, because you're an operating portfolio and money's moving through there all the time. And that was at a 0.11. So you're a good 30 basis points, 35 basis points above your benchmark yield. And your earnings, because the rates are so terribly low, you can see that quarterly in the fourth quarter of 1920, it was 575, but that's because the yield was a 0.8. Now, as those rates have just collapsed on us, the earnings for the quarter were under $116,000. On the next slide, this looks at the asset allocations. So that money that was invested, what was it invested in? And you can see that a lot of the money, 39% of the money, is sitting in the pools. That's totally liquid. And it's, again, it's protecting your liquidity, but it's also, it's there because the curve is so flat, we can't use it very much. We have used 13% of the portfolio in the commercial paper. And if you look on the bottom, you can see why. Commercial paper is yielding into the portfolio a 0.47, and the municipal debt, and we call them munis, and that's really state and local university debt, all highest investment grade. The munis represent 44% because we've been able to get short and extensions on the munis. And one of the reasons, obvious reasons to use that is because in November, they were yielding a 0.9 in the portfolio holdings versus the pools being at a 0.15. So it's a no-brainer. What we're trying to do is keep the portfolio relatively short for your liquidity needs, but also to get value in there so that we're assuring that the money is working all the time. On the next slide, we look at it a little differently. This is the Series 2018 tax bond funds. And you can see those being spent down too, because in the fourth quarter of fiscal year 1920, there was $76 million there. It had been higher, so over that entire year, you'd had a lot of money in there, had spent down to 76 million. Now in November of 62, it's closer to 58 right now. And the market value, again, very good, very close. Here, we look at these and invest these funds dependent upon the planned expenditure plans for the construction, and working with Kathy West to make sure that we know where those are and how far out it can be safely extended. The yield on here was a 0.54, and that's again due primarily to the 341 days, and versus your same benchmark of a 0.11, almost a good half a percentage point better. On the next slide, if we can see the next slide. Whoops. Okay, there's the Series 2020. Same thing. Now, this obviously hasn't been around quite as long. And when the funds were received back in June, we had gone from 92 million. The funds haven't been spent very quickly. We're in November sitting at 90. And that's why that has a longer WAM to it, or weighted average maturity, of 559 days because of the delays in some of that startup. Even there, you can see with that money coming in later, where we were looking at a 0.5 yield on the 2018 bond funds, because these came in lower as that yield curve just keeps sinking and sinking, the best on here is a 0.38. Still well above your benchmark, but not where we would like to be at this point in time. On the next slide, this takes the 2018 and the 2020 together. And here you can see the same kind of thing. We're using commercial paper for the short end, which in November was a 0.5 yield. And the pool's very little here because you don't have a lot of liquidity needs here right now. The agencies at a 0.3, and the munis, the municipal bonds are just wonderful this year, and they're helping the markets and all public entities. One of the reasons for that, because it sounds very strange that we would be able to use municipal bonds. And quite frankly, after 40 plus years of public investing, this is the first time I've ever used them this much. And the reason is because municipalities, state, local, universities, colleges, everybody has been issuing tremendous amounts of debt this past year because of the rates being so low. And when you have that much of a flood into the market, then the prices go down and the rates go up. And that's why we can get muni bonds here in the bond funds averaging at a 0.646. The last slide, I guess that was the last slide. I'll be glad to answer any questions. Don't want to be a downer for you, for the Regents today, but I just wanted to give you an idea of what we see, which is a long haul here with low rates, the economy improving, but it's going to be a long haul on the portfolio before we see any major changes in the economy. And I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Linda. Do we have any questions for Ms. Patterson? Seeing none, we do need to have a vote to accept the college's quarterly investment report. Is there a motion to that effect? Dr. Adami, with a wave of his hand, makes the motion. Is there a second? Second by Dr. Turner. All those in favor of accepting the college's quarterly financial report, please raise your hand. That motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much again, Ms. Patterson. We appreciate you being with us and look forward to the opportunity to see you in person again someday.
Absolutely. I look forward to it.
Thank you. We will now move on to item number 8, which is discussion and action regarding the college's quarterly financial report. Mr. Garcia.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think the financials will come up momentarily. Please bear with us.
Yes. Agenda item number 8.
Okay, thank you. All right, let me begin with the financial condition of the college for the 3 months ending November 2020 is reasonably sound, due in part by a downward shift in revenues offset by reduced spending, and the college's risk reserve fund valued at $8.6 billion. The combination of property tax and tuition revenues have retracted from last year's performance by $853,000 on a quarter-by-quarter basis. The college is working with the Office of the Tax Assessor Collector for collection updates, coming off of a property tax payment deadline of February 1st, which is a couple of days ago. The college will deliver a tax collection update in the March board meeting. Next is operating expenses. Thank you. Oh, before that, sorry. There you go. That's perfect. Thank you so much. So next is operating expenses. The college has experienced reduced spending of about $1.6 million on a quarter-over-quarter basis. This is driven in part by remote learning and working during the pandemic. The college believes these costs will normalize at a point in time when the college transitions to phase 3 of the return to campus plan. Moving on to the balance sheet on the next page. Thank you very much. So the college is financially well positioned to support the mission of the college and weather most business interruptions with a cash and investment position of $59.8 million and a risk reserve fund of $8.6 million. But my disclaimer here is that we know that we're now starting the biennium funding period, and so we really don't know what to expect from the state. On top of that, just listening to Linda Patterson, when she talks about a 4% increase in the second half of the year, from an investment yield perspective, it also translates to inflation. So we can expect a 4% inflation rate at the second half of the year. And I think the Feds, the Dallas Fed chair, Mr. Powell has also indicated that a
Robert
good target
Kaplan.
GDP rate is 2%, which is also equivalent to is also saying a 2% inflation rate. The college financial resources are sufficient to pay its current obligations. That includes accounts payable, the college's statutory required annual pension and OPEB obligation, the annual revenue bond debt service payment, and deferred tuition valued at about $13.7 million. Madam Chair, Mr. President, members of the board, there are no questions. This concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia. Are there questions regarding the quarterly financial report? Is there a motion to accept the quarterly financial report? So moved by Ms. Hutchison. Is there a second by Ms. Averett? Thank you very much. All those in favor, please raise your hand to accept the financial report. Thank you very much. That motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Garcia. Now we're going to move on and have a discussion regarding the authorization to create our DMC police department. This has been a discussion item or item that the board has looked at several times over the last few years as we have progressed towards this goal of creating our own police department. And so look forward to this update. Dr. Escamilla?
Yeah, just very quickly, Regents, we're looking at the final checkoff items to move forward to TCOL so that we can realize the goal, the long-standing goal of becoming, of having our own police department and having our own jurisdiction. That being said, Ms. Tammy McDonald is leading this discussion to discuss what she is asking for your consideration for.
Thank you, Dr. Escamilla. In moving this initiative forward, the application process to obtain a law enforcement agency from the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement, which we do call TCOL, requires submission of documents from the requesting entity's governing body to authorize the creation of the agency. So we're asking you to adopt this resolution. There are several pieces, I guess you could call them evidence that we have to, or documentation that we have to send along with the application to this state agency. One of those, the board approved back in FY18 that we had to show that we could provide a budget. So the board did adopt a budget for a police department and that we could sustain the budget. So we have that evidence that we can submit with our application. It's required. But the formal action from the board, the application does require the action to be in the form of resolution. So this is what we're asking you to do today, is to take the formal action that is required to be part of that application to the state.
Thank you very much, Ms. McDonald. Are there questions regarding the adoption of this resolution? I'm going to ask, I assume, Mr. Rivera, that you need to read this into the record for us, and then we'll ask for a motion for adoption.
Thank you. Thank you, Regent Scott. Board members, presented for you is the following resolution of the Board of Regents of the Del Mar College District approving the creation of a college police department, whereas the Del Mar College District, the college, deems the safety and security of its students, faculty, and staff as its highest priority, and has determined that the consistent daily presence of trained and skilled commissioned peace officers on its campuses will optimally enhance the safety and security of the entire college community, the enforcement of federal, state, and local laws, and the protection of all college property. Whereas the college believes that establishing the Del Mar College Police Department will most efficiently and effectively provide the daily law enforcement presence and safety and security desired by the college. Now therefore be it resolved that in accordance with the laws of the state of Texas, as well as Del Mar College policies, the Board of Regents of the Del Mar College District hereby authorizes and approves the creation of the Del Mar College Police Department, and hereby further authorizes the college president, CEO, and administration to proceed with all required steps and actions, including entering into interlocal agreements with other entities, agencies as needed to conduct the business of the Del Mar College Police Department.
Thank you very much, Mr. Garcia. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution as presented? Dr. Adami makes the motion. Is there a second to that motion? Yes, Ms. Hutchison makes the second to that motion. Again, any questions or comments related to the adoption of the motion? I'm going to do a roll call vote on this motion, please. Dr. Turner. Going in reverse order. Dr. Turner?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Hutchison? Ms. Hutchison?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Garza?
Yes.
Ms. Averett?
Yes.
Dr. Adami?
Yes.
Carol Scott, I vote yes. That motion is adopted unanimously. Thank you very much, Regents. Next item on the agenda is discussion and possible action related to asbestos abatement for the Heritage Hall building. Mr. John Stravos.
Thank you, President. Thank you, Regents, that we have advertised competitively for this. We've received bids. You should have a document that has the bid tabulation. We're recommending award of this bid to Camacho Demolition for $49,500 and also recommending an additional $5,000 for contingency. This is a 2014 bond-funded project, and the total budget for the project is $553,000.
Thank you very much, Mr. Strybos. Are there any questions for Mr. Strybos on this item? Entertaining a motion to award the contract for asbestos removal to Camacho Demolition LLC for the total budget amount of $553,003.
It's for the bid. I'm sorry. It's for the bid of $49,500.
Bid of $49,500. Sorry about that. Thank you very much for that correction. Is there a motion to that effect? Ms. Averett makes that motion. Is there a second? Second by Dr. Adami. Any questions related to that motion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. That motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much, Mr. Strybos.
Excuse me. Sarah, would you note my abstention on this vote?
Thank you very much. Sorry, I didn't realize that was occurring. So Ms. Hutchison abstains from that vote, but the vote passes with 5 votes in the affirmative. All right, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Strybos. Last item on our agenda for regular action is related to the proposed naming for a gift of significance. And Ms. Mary McQueen, our foundation executive director, is going to review that for us.
Yes, we have a significant gift, and we have talked with the donor about naming the makerspace on the South Campus, which is in the STEM building on the first floor for the architectural wing, in honor of the family, which is Tim and Cindy Ligamaro family. And so we're asking approval to enter into a naming agreement with the family in recognition for the donation. It was $1 million donation, and they paid approximately 99% of that donation. The donation will actually be for scholarships, generating somewhere between $35,000 and $45,000 a year through an endowment to help support Del Mar College students.
Thank you very much, Ms. McQueen. This is an outstanding item for us to be able to have an opportunity to approve today, and with great gratitude to the Ligamaro family. That is an incredible gift to Del Mar College. Are there questions for Ms. McQueen on this item? If not, is there a motion to adopt the proposal for the naming rights for the makerspace as proposed? Mr. Garza makes that motion. Ms. Hutchison seconds it. Any questions again on that motion? All those in favor? Let's do the jazz hands wave. Let's do that. The thank you very much wave. That's right. That motion is adopted unanimously. And again, our sincere gratitude to the Ligamaro family. This is an incredible gift. Thank you. All right, Regents, that's all the regular agenda items we have. We will now go into closed session, and please allow me to read the closed session items. I'll announce the time, and then we'll take a quick break to clear the room. So we'll go into closed session pursuant to Texas Government Code 551.072, regarding the deliberation of the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property with possible discussion and action in open session under Texas Government Code 551.071 regarding pending or contemplated litigation or claims, or a settlement offer with a possible discussion and action in open session, and the seeking of legal advice from counsel on pending legal or contemplated matters or claims with possible discussion and action in open session. Texas Government Code 551.087 regarding the discussion or deliberation of information and/or offer of a financial or other incentive received by a business prospect engaged in economic development negotiations with Del Mar College with possible discussion and action in open session, and under Texas Government Code 551.074A1 regarding the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee with discussion and action in open session. The time is 4:22 p.m. And again, we'll take just a quick break to clear the virtual room. Thank you. Okay, Regents, we have come out of closed session at 5:13 p.m. We do have a motion, so the chair is entertaining a motion to authorize the president and CEO to make an offer for real estate and conduct due diligence as discussed in closed session. Is there a motion to that effect? Dr. Adami makes the motion. Ms. Hutchison seconds. Yep.
Yes.
Okay. All those in favor, please raise your hand. That motion passes unanimously. Very quickly for calendaring, we do have a couple of calendar items. If you will take a look, we mentioned Community College Week. We mentioned virtual Del Mar College.
March 4th.
Which is March 4th. And then our regular board meeting will be after spring break.
Yes.
So that will be coming up, and that calendar was sent to you separately. Any questions about calendar coming up? Seeing none, I appreciate your stamina today. Thank you very much. We are adjourned at 5:14 p.m.